I was actually thinking about ways of fixing PvP, not like that thorough as you were, but the Residium system, that would be a good way of bringing back PvP vendors as well.
Well, and you see what I want to do is I want gear to be absolutely irrelevant.
What do you mean you want gear to be irrelevant?
In PvP, just like
so everyone's on the same level playing field, pretty much.
Yes, you are start out with base naked.
That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt Sam's feelings when we're doing BGs and she can't just ruffle stomp the new players, though.
Well, but that's the thing is that as you prestige, you will get more powerful, and so when you get to level 20, you are 20%.
Yeah, you mentioned the 20%, but that's not gonna help her. She needs more than that.
We could, I mean, and the percentage. That's just what I think would be fair, because at 20%, I think a skilled player could outplay an unskilled player.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
And so that's why I think the 20%. But you could do, I mean, something interesting. I did take the most geared disciplined priest, highest rated on the ladder, and I did the math for her stats. And versatility is interesting, and I got to figure out how that affects everything. But basically, naked at 120 versus max level, fully geared, fully enchanted disc priest, they are 10 times as powerful. Like 100% across the board more damage.
Compared to like someone just walking in.
Yes. And then I redid it with my current gear.
Huh.
And they're 35% more powerful than I am.
Oh, wow.
You know, just at my current gear level versus their gear level and their stats affecting them. And that's not even taking into account haste, crit, you know,
corruption, all that,
corruption.
Yeah.
Just baseline, they are 34 to 35% more powerful. Every time they push a button, they will do 34% more damage than me.
Damn. I know there's that big disparity.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have the wrong scene on, but it has video as well.
Oh, hi! That's funny. Well, it's just Angie. Angie's used to this life of pie.
Welcome to the shit show.
Do I need to drink before you talk about your pitch? Or do you feel like it's going to be okay and I'm going to get over that you said you don't want gear to matter?
Well, and that's where there's some interesting play that could happen with the idea that I'm coming up with. Because basically, you could do PvP trinkets that, you know, boost your stats in PvP and allow some things that you can't exactly plan for. You know, things like that.
Like rogues?
You know, well, and like with rogue, you still have the baseline stats that I'm talking about. But I'm thinking more like, okay, I have a trinket that will boost my damage output, or I have a trinket that will help save my life, you know, increase defensive bubble, whatever. You can still have those in there and they can still be given to you. But it's not like it is now, because I'm how do I put this? I am frustrated with PvP right now, but at the same time, I can see where it could be fun, if that makes sense. But it's all about the gear, you know. And in order to get the best gear for the PvP, I have to PvE. And I just want.
Well, you don't even have to just do PvE. You have to rely on RNG 150% too. So
yes, and that doesn't make PvP very fun. You know, because if you get your stars and your tentacles popped, you know, cool. Then
that sounds like it might be a good topic for After Dark.
Man, because I've been doing
tentacles are involved.
So it's not as necessary, but I mostly do mythics, and I am doing the arenas to get the conflict and strife, and I'm sitting at about like 1500 rating just so that I can get the items weekly. And yeah, there's some people I roll in and they have like all the corruption. It's like, this isn't even fun. Like, all their damage is just infinite stars. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then you just get raffle stomped.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's where it's very But I mean, my whole idea is that it would be more along the lines of you have your prestige levels, okay, and let's say it takes 10 wins in arenas, 20 losses, 5 battleground wins, 10 battleground losses, okay. You know, just I would like to do some more math about what sounds a little bit more fair, you know, because a battleground takes 15 minutes, an arena match takes 2 minutes. You know, we can play with those numbers. But I would like it to see that if you want to be powerful in PvP, you have to PvP. And automatically, no matter how
that makes too much sense.
No matter how geared, you know, if you're facing a mythic heroic rated level person, if they're prestige level 0 and you're prestige level 20, you will smash them. Because you are going to be 20% more powerful than them, even though they're completely geared out and all you've done is PvP.
When we talk about this officially, have things in regards to that. So I think this is going to be a really good show. So
but yeah, no, I've talked to I've recently on our show we've had some Warcraft devs and things like that, and so I'm hoping to feed that. I want to do all the math first.
Yeah, you guys have grown quite the popularity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird that you talk about PvP because you're only technically PvP, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Just technically speaking.
Well, and this is where I'm doing all the math because we get technical about our PvP.
Which I don't know how to be technical about.
So something that I always have to keep in mind though too is PvP and PvE have always kind of bled over, but this is the most it has since ever.
Yeah.
So that's also part of the problem.
It's gotten really bad.
We'll talk about that as well.
Now, I mean, there are your fun moments when you get your, you know, infinite stars proc and all those things.
Yeah.
That can be fun.
There are fun moments when you're not getting dry humped and face raped by a fucking rogue or demon hunter. Certainly there are fun moments that exist.
There are fun moments.
Man,
but again,
was great the other night in arenas. With
You
the
know-
5% damage buff, man, I was making people's lives miserable, right, Rem?
And it was pretty fun, yeah.
All right. So I think we should have a show. Feels like we should have a show. I've done the tweet things. I've done the stuffs, the junk and things. And I think we're good to go. So let's get started. Let's get this, hold on.
And actually, the Punch Monk 5% doesn't apply to PvP, by now that I recall.
Viewer discretion is advised.
At this point, I don't know what I'm muting, what I'm turning up in volume-wise, what I'm unmuting. I don't actually know what's going on with the sound, but at least it's working, and we have sound. Thank goodness. Happy Saturday. You are listening and or watching Pwnecast. This is episode 264. We are in patch 8.3. Tonight, we are going to be talking about mostly PvP. And that is because PvP. And technically PvP. That's all I have. We're done. Show's over. Just kidding. We're going to talk about PvP. I want to talk about some Vision stuff because they had a really great show last night with the fine gentleman over at Azeroth Roundtable. And I got some interesting tidbits that I wanted to share. But we have a lot to talk about, including Winstead returning, which you all hear him every episode because he is the voice of our intro. And he is just an all-around stand-up guy when he isn't being Winstalin. But we have a lot to talk about. It's probably going to get a little bit heated because the bulk of it is going to be PvP. So I'm going to apologize in advance for anybody that I offend. Just kidding. I don't give a fuck. Go get yourselves a drink. Stay right here.
In 2014, a crack commando unit was banned from trade chat for comments they didn't make. These men and women promptly escaped from the Stormwind stockades to the Iron Forge underground. Today, still hunted by the trolls of trade chat, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, then maybe you can hire the Pwnecast. Leader and brains of the operation, it's Bell.
I want tacos so bad.
Betrayer of the priestly order and huntard extraordinaire, it's Remedies. With the Pwnecast team assembled, let the battle for Azeroth begin.
Hello, people of podcast land. This is Winstalin speaking, and Winstead from the Technically PvP podcast, and you are listening to the Pwnecast podcast.
Oh crap, my thing fell. Is that Winstalin? Oh, let me turn on the audio. Hold on. Is that Winstalin?
Yes.
Is that him in the official? He has a very
the quote-unquote flesh, yeah.
Greetings, people of podcast land. This is Winstalin speaking.
That's my favorite. I'm pretty excited about that. I love that you made him a person. I'm not saying he wasn't always a person, but I love that.
Of course I am person. What are you talking about?
This is what I have missed. These are things that I need in order to be happy, and this is one of the things that I have missed. It has been far too long. Winstalin, I'm going to need to speak with Winstead now, because as much as we love you, we love Winstead just a little bit more.
Wow.
Well, I do.
I love you a little bit more, don't worry.
Whoa! Now I
You
hurt
don't
his
like
feelings.
Mother Russia.
Now I hurt his feelings.
But I will be.
Hi, guys.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So, welcome back. If you are new to Pwnecast, I'm sorry. Sorry for whatever series of unfortunate events landed you here, either on our Twitch stream or on one of the many audio versions of this podcast or YouTube. And I'm sorry you didn't have anything better to do, but your misfortune is not my misfortune. So I'm going to strive to make your misfortune better.
Fortunate.
Yes, fortunate. I did bring several people with me, actually. I did bring the Writers Rohan with me. I did bring Remedies, which I don't really have an intro for these guys anymore because I feel like we're the same. We don't really change much, right?
Still playing Hunter.
No, he is actually, well...
Why does everyone think that I played the hunter for the RBGs, but I've always been a priest? Like, what?
Well, I
Feels
just
bad,
know
man.
in your intro it says Betrayer of the Priestly Order and Huntard Extraordinaire.
But he still plays his hunter, and he also plays paladin. So he did betray the priestly order.
I'm
so
a multi-classer. I have a problem.
he's bi-classing.
You're an bi-classic.
He tried to get him help, but apparently it's a lifestyle.
I'm
Does
poly.
he really? I mean, come on, guys. If you're bi-classic, I mean, you don't really need help. You know.
I would consider it more of Sapio class. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, I'll fucking play it.
Interesting.
I know I'm 3 classes away from having everything leveled to 120.
All the healers I do. Everything that
I
can
have
heal
all
I
the
do.
tanks. I have all the tanks at 120.
Yeah, I'm missing Warrior, Warlock, and Hunter.
I'll never level a rogue. I leveled till 70 once, and that was it.
I did also bring Brusif, who I don't really. What are you right now? Are you still monk, but you're demon? You play like 5 things too, yeah?
Mostly, I mostly play my Brewmaster, obviously, and my Prop Paladin.
And your demon hunter is just tanking.
DPS.
Oh, well, they didn't get nerfed recently. We could talk about that later if it's a sore subject. But I feel like I saw a nerf somewhere for demon hunters. Maybe it was Havoc ? Vengeance. I don't know. And with us returning is Winstead. Winstead is the brainchild behind technically PvP's podcast, which I have had.
Let's be honest here. We got the brainchild was Garisar, who came up with the show, and I just a member, a humble member of the cast.
So co-host And I had the pleasure of meeting Garrasar at a BlizzCon, who was...
He's such a great guy.
He's an amazing guy. I love him to pieces. But have you ever met a Cowboys fan? Or
Gross.
a Raiders fan?
Even worse.
They're the guy that sits on the opposite side of the team that's playing, and then they're shouting for the opposite team in your ear. And you're like, bro, I will literally cut you. Like, can you not do this?
Yeah,
so,
that was a great meeting.
That's how we met. We met with me literally losing my voice and screaming. And he was rooting for, I don't remember who it was.
Well, we wanted Panda Global.
That's right, because Cubsy, right?
Yeah, we were following the Cubsy story, which, for a brief recap, basically Cubsy got kicked off his team.
Wasn't it
back
like
in
2 or 3 teams?
2017. Well, he got booted at 2017. His team had the points to, I mean, they were in the top 3 standing. Okay. He got booted from the team, and he reformed a new team. Okay. And then proceeded to beat his old team into BlizzCon, and then made it to second place.
Hey, Rub Cub he's
It was
something else,
Rub Cub. I don't know why I said
Rub
Cubsy.
Rub Cub was, that was such a great year for PvP. So much drama.
It was really
so much
good.
intrigue. It was fantastic.
It was really good.
It was really a great year.
So that's how we officially met person to person. Because I believe it was you, Winstead, who emailed me before you started podcasting.
Yes.
And you said, I want to do a thing. And I love that because you're like one of 7 who went off and did this thing. And Stone was probably the very first person before he started doing the WoW challenges stuff. It is so great to see.
You're like the mama bear.
Yeah, but I'm the mama bear who is like the pariah of the community. And I'm okay with that because I don't really care about that. But it's nice to see, especially for PvP, right? Because that's really needed. As much as I love PvP, I'm not technical. I don't know how to math, guys. I know how to shoot a fucking chaos bolt and fear your ass until you want to throw your keyboard. That's about all I know. I don't know anything else. So we need things like that because that's how it helps educate people. So if you guys have never checked out Technically PvP's podcast, please make sure you follow them on Twitter and check out what they do. Does he still do, your third? I can never...
Andolin?
Yeah, I can never remember the game name and it drives me crazy because it just doesn't...
Yeah, no, Andolin is our third co-host.
Is he still doing it with all he has going on?
No, he's still doing it with us, and he's actually joined the Method team.
I know he did.
And is working with Method now.
He did.
And so he still makes time for us little guys, so he's still there for us. But yeah, no, he's great. It's so good to see what happened to him because he did really push for a lot more in-game PvP stuff, and now Method has picked him up to help in their broadcasting and in their I think they're doing the 24/7 Twitch.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of events.
He co-founded Resurgent, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he was the founder. It was his brainchild was Resurgence, and he's the one who pushed that and made it all happen.
But where did it surge from?
It came from Technically PvP. I mean, I think Garrasar gets a lot of credit for giving him a platform and being able to push Resurgence, and then Resurgence then took on a life of its own and really took off, and it's been fantastic for him.
Agreed. It's nice to see. It's really important to see community members who didn't come from a famous streaming platform doing things, right? I think...
No, and even the Technically PvP stream is now part of Warcraft Radio.
I saw that. Congratulations.
So we've been picked up by Warcraft Radio, and we're now a part of that organization, and they've been fantastic to work with. They helped us get actually a Twitch stream set up, so now our shows are actually being streamed.
Yay!
Instead of just audio. So hey, we're catching up to you, Belle.
No, I'm behind now. Everybody has far surpassed me in every facet. I don't even know how we still have listeners, to be perfectly honest. But the thing I have learned is I don't care about that. I care that I get to talk with my friends and have fun. And, those times for Belle have passed long ago because I just don't give a shit anymore about that. I just care about doing what I love and having fun. There's no goals to be had for this old woman. I'm 38 years old, guys.
So are we doing PvP after the show then?
Are you trying to get me in arenas?
I still need to cap conquest for the week because
I have to see a DK about a key. Envy
You already did a 10 this week.
Envy
though.
is pulling me through keys after the show, I believe. But so all good things. These are things that are exciting. It's nice to see Warcraft Radio even kind of out and about again.
Back, yeah.
Because I think these are things that I remember listening to. So good things.
Well, there's always been an ebb and flow with it, so.
I don't even know what that means, but I know they make coffee
And
here
up and down.
where I live. Also, Metalish, thank you for the 9-month sub. I don't have my stream deck on because
Style boy for life.
Yeah, Brem's going to have to kick that off with that 9-month sub. So, real quick, before we get into anything else, let's talk about what's happening Tuesday, March 3rd for the weekly reset. We will have the BFA dungeon, so all that means is you potentially have a chance at extra loot for the last boss.
Yeah.
Here's why it's a lie. Because if you don't get loot on the last boss of a dungeon, then you have a double chance of equally not getting loot on the last boss of the dungeon.
Well, isn't it confirmed? Like you.
Yeah,
you
but
have to
I
see-
think there wording like. Is it increased? I don't know if it actually says guaranteed. I don't remember, but I'm
That's
pretty
PvE
sure.
stuff. I have no idea what you're talking
I'm pretty sure that I have not gotten loot on a last boss during this event in a regular dungeon, non-Mythic Plus. But whatever. I'm not going to judge, right? Let's just get our loot, and that way we can move on with our life.
Right.
The PvP brawl is going to be South Shore versus Torren Mill. Please know what the fuck you're doing before you go into South Shore versus Torren Mill. Because when you don't know what to do, and you are incapable of taking direction from the people in the BG that do know, and you're off fucking around in a corner somewhere trying to tame a sheep, this stuff is not okay for this battleground. It requires people to pay attention.
So low key, I haven't been in there since that first time because it was such a lag fest. Have they fixed it or not?
Yeah, they've so here's the thing. Any place where 20 or more are gathered it's gonna be a lag fest. But I can deal with the lag if people stop licking
No.
windows.
So what you're saying is
Not
next
that
week
lag.
I need to sign on my blood DK and queue up with you to go tame sheep.
No, because I think we're gonna see a growing trend in the continuation of nerfs for tanks in PvP. We've already seen a little bit of a trend so far, and I'm hoping that the folks over at Blizzard have finally heard my very loud and annoying shrieking voice
Rip
over
RBGs.
Listen, for 2 expansions, we did just fine in RBGs with no tank. I just want to point that
Hey
out.
man, I miss the days when I could double blood in 2s and just kill everybody.
Listen,
Okay.
I miss the days when I didn't have to choose between 2 of the talents that make me a fucking warlock. But here I am, still making the choice and making the dream happen.
Hey, you're getting those back, okay?
Yeah, I'm getting them
Calm
back.
down.
I think that tanks are wonderful in PvP. It's always fun to see a tank come out of the blue and actually perform well. I do feel that they need to be in more of a support role than a full-on damage-dealing role.
Yeah, helping with the objective
Yeah,
of
they
an
should be
RPG.
like a
Yeah.
jockstrap, not like a rocket.
I don't
Well,
want
I
them in
mean,
arenas, but
okay.
RPGs, sure.
Oh, now time out there. 2018 Legion prop paladins was an amazing sight to see in the arena.
No, it was
Yeah, beam.
heresy. It was heresy.
Awesome.
Heresy.
It was Method. Method was the one.
It was embarrassing.
No,
I loved it. I was all about it.
I
loved
had to
Paladin.
great.
I had to hang my head in shame. I was embarrassed. Here's the thing, though. I can't fault them for using what they're given, right? If Blizzard would not have made them viable in
Well, and that's
in
the
that,
thing is that
you
the
know.
whole thing that the whole thing that the prop pally did was that it increased survivability of the other 2 players, and then I can't remember the ability, but there was an ability that they had that boosted everybody else's damage.
Oh, the
And
it's
so-
like Indomitable Justice or something like that, where
Yeah,
the judgment.
and it made the gameplay interesting, where they could try to focus down the DPS, but both the prop pally and the healer were able to kind of maintain that player, keep them up. And then they had a new burst window that was brought on by the prop pally, and it just made it interesting. It
Listen,
was good.
Meth
Now,
is
I will
interesting,
say-
but I don't think everyone should try it.
Now, I will say that the recent Guardian Druid has been kind of weird. That's been
Oh no, they pissed me off. Like
that's been weird.
just get out of here. You're just gonna
It's
die
funny.
anyway. It just takes 10 minutes to kill you.
It's
Let's
been
try it
funny.
tonight.
I've really enjoyed playing against it and watching because you can kill. I mean, there have been some moments where me and my fellow PvP partner in arenas, we kill. I do twos mostly, and Guardian Druid will show up, and we kill his partner, and then we have to actually be careful because this guy could kill.
I
him.
know if you don't pay attention, they can kill
Yeah.
you. But it's so stupid. He did more healing than I did. It was ridiculous.
And
Rage
you know what's-
Regeneration was insane.
And that's
Somebody
where,
doing
you
more
just-
healing than you.
That sounds like every battleground, though.
See,
Sounds like
you.
rage.
He knows you. I don't even have to say anything. That's the beauty of having someone who's been here before. He knows.
But no, I think it's interesting. I mean, if they were to give the Guardian Druid a Cyclone, reduce his damage, and then give him an off heal, cool, let it happen.
It would be good in the sense that they're good for like support, CC, and
Exactly.
just being a thorn in the side. But
Yes.
other than that, I don't like tanks in arenas at all.
Well, it's just about finding their place, and it's really hard to fine tune
Oh yeah,
tanks in PvP. That's the hard.
That's
part.
why they should just remove them.
but no BGs, I'm all for. But yeah, not
Just because something's
Then you
hard.
wouldn't PvP
Bell.
with me at all, Bell.
No, it's not that I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, and I know it isn't because I'm not like a gladiator. I know there are guys up there at the very top of the food chain that feel equal about tanks and arenas as I do. However, I get it. This is what Blizzard has given us, right? They gave us 3 different types of 4 technically if you separate range and melee. I get it. They gave us the ability for tanks in general, so...
What?
Well, like, I consider those, they're both DPS, but I consider them on 2 different spectrums.
I thought you were talking about the amount of specs on Druid. I was
No,
like,
no, no,
where
no,
are
I'm
you
just in
even
general.
going?
So, like, I get it, but it's such a hard...
Bell. I'm so happy that I'm on Pwnecast because I can take off my PG filter. But we all know, Bell, that when things get hard, things get fun.
I don't believe that is the case. There's a difference
No.
between hard and rough, and there's a difference between I want to bang my head against a wall, right? Hard and rough
I mean,
is
both
fun.
are plausible.
Well,
so,
Sometimes both could equal a good time with the right dinner, right? Like I'm
Yeah,
not
exactly.
I'm not discounting
No,
either.
I do feel that they do need to do some tuning around that. I don't think the tank should be taken completely out of PvP. I do feel that it is difficult to play tanks in PvP because we do have those swings of like Guardian Druid is just insane. They still need nerfs.
It's already hard to kill a healer. Like we already have that uphill battle, which is great.
Mhm.
So then we add the tank. Then I basically have a brick wall.
you just got to work better at breaking down that brick wall.
Yeah, you just got to play better.
I agree. Like I 100% agree. I am not about facing tanks.
You're not a true thug.
Well, I mean,
See, what if the tank was on your side, though?
no, I disagree.
Oh, that
So
would
when
make it
we
even matter.
Miss a Pandaria, and Warlords of Draenor, we did RBGs. The guild did RBGs throughout the second half of Miss a Pandaria and all of Warlords of Draenor, and then part of Legion. But never did we ever have. Never.
That's okay. Now I don't agree with that. RBGs requires a tank for some objective.
We never. And we were rated relatively high. Listen, when you get shit on by Hodded and his whole fucking crew in an RBG, you know you're doing something right because you have gone against this group of people. We never had a tank.
I think it was just late at night and
No,
the
we had-
MMRs kind of bleed over.
We had Rogue and we had non-tank Druid running flag, doing things that, would be the more tankier positions, whatever. But we never once. We're talking an expansion and a half. So yes, it can be done, and yes, we didn't miss it. We did not
quick
miss
question,
it.
because you still play Destro and Mop, obviously. Were you a flag carrier in Mop? Because Warlocks were even tankier than tanks.
So with my
Technically, you were a tank. They were the first ones to hit 1 million health.
with my teleport on some maps, I can absolutely be the flag carrier because I can grab the flag and I can teleport to where they can't kill me and I can haul ass. However, being a human, I'm quite slow. So while I can keep the flag, I can't run with the flag very far because I'm literally the slowest fucking class of alive person, really, not even class. But so good talking points. This is going to be one of those things where till the end of time, this is going to be one of those discussions, which is one of the things I love about it because it's good. Also, before I forget, remember that Raid Finder Wing 3 is opened. It opened on the 25th. March 10th opens Wing 4, so you can go get your N'Zoth kill if you're not doing, if you're not raiding with a guild or whatever. And Dark Moon Fair opened on the 1st, so make sure, I think it opens on the 1st and it goes to the 7th. Get your rep if you're trying to unlock a Volpera or...
I can finish out the Rajani then.
Yeah, get your things, do the stuff, do the cha-cha. Also, before I forget, want to make sure we talk about hot fixes. There's a couple that are super important. In terms of the horrific visions, which we're going to have a conversation about that later, the vessels that you need to be able to do the horrific visions, they're no longer capped at 5. They still don't stack, so if you have like 11
we were
million...
actually just talking about that the other day. It's like, what the shit?
Yeah.
It's so annoying when stuff doesn't stack. Just let it stack. If it's the exact same, just let it go.
Well, side note about stacking is they honestly just, why don't they increase the stack size for stuff like water? Why does it still cap out at 20? Get out of here.
I feel that way about potions, but why not just make like coalescing visions are a currency, and if we just need to convert them, why not just still make the vessel of horrific visions a currency?
Personally, I think the vessel for the horrific visions is pointless and it's a middleman when really they should just say, hey, you need 10k coalescing to enter a vision. It seems like an extra step that seems a little weird to me. Kind of reminds me of like when you have a middleman when you're going to buy weed. Like nobody wants to pay the middleman's prices. They want to go direct, factory direct. They want to get warehouse prices. Like I want to cut all that stuff out and just, but I get it. It's a neat little, I get it. I understand the
flavor.
Yeah, like I understand it. It's something to do and it adds a little interesting tidbit there. And so the rank 12, does that change next week? Doesn't it go up next week or is it the following week?
Next week it'll be 13.
So you could get up to 4 pages per vision. I got a story about that in my week in WoW. We'll talk about that another time. And up to rank 12, and then on Tuesday you'll be able to go rank 13. The pages. So the pages 13 through 15 were reduced. So it's no longer 6, 12, and 18.
Yeah, it's not an ass load of pages. It's just
4, 6,
like a small handful now.
A small handful versus.
And they only drop from the lost zones. They don't drop from the corrupted zones.
And they did increase the coalescings that you get for all the dailies for the assaults. I think it was like 150 before, wasn't it?
Yeah, so initially it was 50, then it went up to 150. Now it's up to like
it's 350.
325.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
325.
Which is nice because
They
especially
didn't
as
increase the rep you gain, dicks.
well, we're gonna probably see an increase in the rate of receiving the coalescings as well. Maybe not then. Maybe their ideas for it to be harder to get your cloak higher. I don't know. Maybe that's their whole point. But you would think as we get higher, we would acquire. They'll continue to increase the amount of coalescings we get, so that we can.
Well, that's what it's felt like. I think it's more of like a catch-up mechanic.
I don't know if it's catch up or if it's like, hey, we aren't giving enough or what.
Right, because originally it was supposed to take like 9 runs to get rank 15, which is still a lot. Like even if you have been saving the vessels every week, it was still like an exorbitant amount that it was going to take more than a week to actually obtain.
Did you say
Yeah, for what? 2
exorbitant
item
amount?
levels and some resistance?
Exorbitant amount.
Yeah.
Absorbent?
I'm not good with the whole words.
I thought absorbent too. And I was like, but I love a good paper towel. Not Bounty though, because fun fact. Bounty.
I just get like the Sam's Club brand.
Samesies. Hey, that's
Kirkland
weird.
is the best, okay?
I go to Sam's Club, so I need the paper towels in droves. So,
In
And before we swap over, because after we swap over, it's going to be mostly PvP. There's some interesting things in terms of the visions. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to check it out, and this is probably a good idea for those who are PvP only and don't really do some of the PvE stuff. What are you laughing at?
I think I know what you're about to say.
What am I going to say?
Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'm thinking about our run.
No. That'll be for my week in WoW. Listen, I knew not to do it, and I did it anyway. This is why I listen to the voices in my head. So let's talk about visions, and I'm not talking about the ones in your head. I'm talking about the voices that tell you to do things. So the visions, when I was on Azeroth Roundtable yesterday, there were things that even I didn't know, because when I'm in a vision, I'm in and out, and I'm trying not to die and not touch every single fucking thing that takes your sanity away in these visions, which I'm pretty good about touching all of them. There's little things inside these visions that a lot of people who probably haven't taken the time to explore. So if you PvP and you're not really caring about the visions or whatever you're doing, use your vessels and go explore, because if you go into the barbershop in Orgrimmar, you get held down by a very angry goblin. Sorry, excuse me. And he shaves your head, and then you get a toy and an achievement. The head shaving thing is a little abrasive, it seems, but
it makes your head shiny too. Really
and then you get a toy. You get isn't it like a shaver, a toy shaver?
Yeah, it's like a shave and a haircut, and then it's like a crew cut, pretty much. Like it's like your hair is slicked back. It's really weird.
Yeah, they're, but there's all kinds of little things inside. So
yeah, there's mounts from mailboxes. There's a lot of stuff in there.
So when you have time and it's not so serious, save a vessel to just go in and check stuff out. Just go and explore and see what achievements there are. I'm sure Wowhead has them all nicely data mined and all that good stuff. So go do stuff, because things and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's not common at all, Angie. Not at all.
What's not common?
The mail muncher.
The mail muncher is what he's called?
Yep.
That's terrifying.
You loot him from a mailbox.
That's
and he
terrifying.
munches mail.
That is terrifying.
I mean,
I got the. What was it I got the other night, Rem, that you were making fun of? It was like a boar
herpes?
called.
Oh, not herpes.
Oh, Cthulhu, like Cthulhu mixed with
It was Cthulhu, and then it was a boar, but it was like the old boar model.
It's like the old boar
It was like
model.
a straight
Jesus.
boar model from Classic with just void around it.
Yes.
Interesting. Have you done any visions, Winstead? Not one? Not one single solitary vision?
No,
He's already got 20/20 vision. He's fine.
I've already been really this final stretch of BFA has been really disappointing for me. I know I've heard a lot of good things about the visions, but again, PvE is not really where I want to spend a lot of my time in game, and so I've been spending more of my time in Classic.
Ew!
I've been trying to get.
Oh, you just tanks in Classic. Oh, you're not. Ooh, I'm just gonna.
One said we're best friends now.
So
I do have a warrior. He's good. But
what's
I am
disappointing?
tanking on him.
What's disappointing? Let's talk about that.
Are we ready to start in on to PvP?
Yeah, but that was my handy dandy professional handoff.
I'll turn my attention away from the Twitch chat back to the. You guys were talking PvE, and sorry, I zoned out there.
It's okay.
But no, currently in PvP, it's very based around your corruption and your gear. And so if you want to do well, you need to have the right corruption, and you need to have the highest gear that you can get. And all the best sources for those things are PvE related.
I agree.
And so, if you want to PvP and you want to do it at a really high level, go do your Mythic 10s, your Mythic 15s, and do your Mythic raids. And, I got kids, I got a wife, I got a full-time job.
I love your wife and I love your children in a non-creepy way.
No, I have a great family. And so when I get on my computer, I want to sit down, I want to jump into arena, I want to jump into some battlegrounds, and I want to feel competitive. And currently in game, that's not really the case. You have to have your cloak, you have to have some good corruption gear, you got to have your infinite stars. I can't remember what the tentacle one is, you got to have that one.
Twisted appendage.
Yeah. And if you don't have those things, and then the other part of that is that you need them to proc, and when they proc, then you kill something. And so it's taken away a lot of. I mean, I'm not saying that it's brainless to arena right now, but it has taken away, especially on the lower end.
Well, it's
of
cookie
the
cutter,
arenas.
right? It makes it.
Yeah, no, it's just I play until those things proc, and then I kill something. And there's not a whole lot of.
But you're not in control of being able to execute fully if the thing doesn't proc a certain way.
Well,
Yeah, it's
something
not
you
like-
just mentioned that I didn't even think about was the counterplay. There is no counterplay to corruptions at all. So
Yeah.
the only
Yeah,
thing
no,
you really
it's
do
just-
is
it procs
infinite
and-
stars. You can debuff it, but other than that,
Well, and I think you can kill tentacles. When they prop, you can target them and wipe them out. But again, it's one of those things where when it pops, that becomes your kill window. And I mean, you're getting 30 to 40% of your damage from those things.
It doesn't matter if you've already done a really good job of aligning everything right so that you are good to go when you're good to go. You're on a whim. You're bound to outside.
No, you're bound by these corruption things, and so it takes away a lot of. One of my favorite classes to play is Disc Priest. I love Disc Priest. I love Disc Priest in 2s, and we'll set up for a kill with me and a rogue, and we hope that something procs. And if it procs, we guarantee the kill. If not, we just keep doing our thing until we're able to get those procs, and then we get our kill.
out of curiosity, what what MMR are you playing at right now?
I'm playing 1600, 1700. I
Okay.
haven't been able to sit down and do a really big push, and most of my arena partners I haven't been able to link up with this season.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's not. I mean,
I was curious because I've been
And-
playing Disc
and
Priest. And
I've been
2s.
playing a lot of classic.
Yeah.
I'm also I've been so disappointed with how Priest is going. Disc Priest is in a hard spot right now.
So is Rem. Rem is quite frustrated.
So,
Yeah, no, it's-
for instance, a little small story about that. We have a new guy that joined the guild. He's asking me about Disc Priest, and it's like, oh, if you want to actually play actively, you kind of have to be a masochist. Like, it's very painful to play at top rated for PvP or PvE. It's rewarding. It's fun. I like it. I still enjoy it, but it's painful.
It is a very fun play style. I will say that. I think the
Yeah.
Discipline Priest is a very unique, fun, entertaining play style. But the problem is that Disc Priest is doing amazing in raids. The ability to deal damage, heal at the same time, and cast. I mean, because you can do what is that spell? It's
Radiance.
instant cast Radiance. Yeah, you
Well,
cast
in
Radiance.
PvP, it's instant, but it's like a 2-second
Yeah.
cast in PvE. Yeah.
But in PvE, you cast that, and then you just start dealing damage, and you're healing the entire raid.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
like it's like our
how do you-
tranquility. You give a couple of people atonement with a shadow mend, and then you do 2 radiance, and then you use the evangelism, and then you just go to town.
Yeah, no, and it's great, and you can line things up, and you want to
Mhm.
base your damage rotation off of it, and it's a lot of fun. But in PvP, because they've had to like nerf it in raids, it's affected us in player versus player.
Which, this was the whole thing that Holinka literally fought for 2.5 expansions, almost 3 expansions, where he fought making sure that they had these templates, right? These templates that worked separately between the 2 types of gameplay. And we did this war mode thing, which I know it's a great thing.
I like the war mode. I thought that was a good.
But that
good-
affects what they do, because apparently if you're in war mode and you're in something that's only for PvE, it's too difficult to expect a person who's out in the world doing a thing to be able to acclimate and make sure that they have their PvP stuff on, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never been on Tichondrius to live, but I assume that that's kind of how they've always lived on a PvP. Like, when you are from an actual PvP server and that was your life, I assume you were ready at any given moment to get your ass handed to you, or for you to hand someone else's
Passes
ass to them.
out.
Yeah, like
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah, no, for you world PvPers out there, there's a great add-on called Spy.
we have it.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay,
amazing.
so you guys have So for the listeners, if you don't have Spy and you play world PvP, it's a great add-on because what it's doing is it's scanning for enemy players, and when they use an ability that your game can detect, it actually alerts you that, oh, you've got an opponent nearby. And so then you can start saving your cooldowns, maybe save a couple of bigger spells.
Yeah.
You can save
And
people to
then-
lists, so when
It
someone
has a kill on
pisses you
sight
off,
list. Yep.
add to your
Yep.
kill on sight, and it alerts you, hey, by the way, this guy that you've been trying to kill for a week.
And
is
during
here.
Legion, I had a good list.
Yeah, it is. That's fantastic. I use it in Battlegrounds too sometimes because it does tell me when there is an ability used nearby, like a flag I'm sitting on. But it does
Rogue
get
or
annoying.
things like that.
It does get annoying rather quickly, especially if it's like if I'm in the middle of a big group battle and those abilities are going off in the group. I don't really care about that. But it's nifty. One would argue that it's too privacy invading, but there's no GDPR in World of Warcraft, so we don't have to give a shit about that. But yes, I also have an add-on called Say Sapped. And it basically outputs to chat that I've been sapped so that I don't have to. Particular for base sitters, flag sitters, like if you're a lone mage holding down stables, it says you were sapped automatically so you don't have to worry about that and you can just go right into trying to defend yourself. It's actually pretty useful in Battlegrounds in general.
That ruins the fun of frantically trying to type in "I'm sad."
No, it's great. It just does it for you, and then people are like, "Oh shit, there's a rogue." So,
Yep.
I use it.
But no, and you were bringing up the templates, which is, I think, during Legion was probably some of the best PvP that we had ever seen, and it was based a lot on the templates.
Yeah.
And I think with this expansion, they've kind of swung the pendulum more towards the gear side, because the complaint about the templates was that you didn't have very much customizability. You know, your character was given a template, and that's the stats they were given, and there was nothing you could do to change
Yeah.
it. And that's where, like, right now I'm working on with the big promotion of our channel, we've gotten in with the Warcraft Radio. We've had a few devs actually come on. Just last week we had D Machine, who's now running the PvP events.
Yeah,
for
he's
World of Warcraft.
he's been doing it for what,
Awesome.
the last two years?
Yep, we had him on to kind of talk about the upcoming season and what to expect, which I think last week you guys were talking about, kind of wondering what was happening there. So we had him on, and we were able to get all those answers all cleared up. But what I'd like to see happen is that the templates be brought back and that they be tied to prestige for your power increases.
So putting in work is actually going to help you
So
instead
you-
of putting
you-
in work and hoping for RNG.
Those of you that listened before the show started, he was kind of talking a little bit about this, and I'm going to have him go into kind of what his pitch is, because while I was doing the last minute prep, I heard the words, "I don't want gear to matter," and I immediately ears perked up, and I'm like, "Hi, what?" So now I need you
No
to
gear.
explain, because if you're going to take something that is to me a driving force that is missing and has been missing since they removed the importancy of gear, and you're going to replace it with this thing, how do you tell me how this is going to function?
Okay, so all PvP rewards will stay in place. Okay. You will still be able to get gear from PvP. Okay. That gear, in my opinion, should be raid level gear. And if you're fully PvP geared out, you should be able to enter a heroic raid and be competitive. Okay. That's what I feel PvP gear should be. But as far as your actual power in an arena, in rated battlegrounds, in world PvP, it should be completely based off of your prestige level. Now, I've been doing a lot of math, and so this is where the spreadsheet would kind of come into play. that I gave you. I don't know if you could bring that up or.
I got it up
But
now.
did you make a
Okay,
PowerPoint?
we got it up now.
I struggled a little bit trying to bring it up, so I probably need to just tell me what you need me to highlight. I'll be your.
Okay, so what I did is I took my Discipline Priest, and so up in here in the top left corner, if you zoom in on that, we've got basically
Hold on, how do
my
I zoom with this?
baseline stats.
Control mouse wheel, maybe.
If
I
you
don't-
full screen, okay, if you full screen it, you can actually see it.
But there
So,
should be a zoom in the online version, no?
maybe.
Hold on.
I'm looking
Oh,
at the
got
Twitch
it.
stream.
We're gonna be all right.
Okay, so up in the top left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, if you take a 120 level human priest and strip them down naked, these are their base stats. You've got 1,467 intellect, 1,001 stamina, 0 armor, 100,000 mana, and that's where you start. You have 0.5 crit, 0 haste, 11% mastery, 0 versatility, no speed. And then what I did under that, when you look down at damage, I actually found the multiplier that you can, that happens. Well, if you scroll up just to underneath damage, right where your mouse, or that's my mouse.
So I need to make my thing bigger. That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, so if you just look down a little further, you see spells, and then next to spells is damage. What World of Warcraft does is that it takes your intellect, or at least for healers and spell people, it takes your baseline intellect, times a multiplier, and then outputs how much damage you're doing. So where you're looking at right now is actually the highest rated Discipline Priest in the game, Eros. If you look up at the top left-hand corner in column A, Eros Geared Disc Priest. They have 14,362 intellect. You just scroll. Okay, so that's me naked, what you're looking at. And then when you look at that, that's Eros right there. Okay. And when they push Holy Nova, they deal 3,447 damage. And then if you look down at the very bottom, they have healing. And they deal 2,161 healing. Comparative to when I'm naked, if you scroll all the way up, they are 100 times more powerful than a unequipped player. So they deal 3,477. If you scroll all the way up, I deal 352.
This this down this way down here. Oh.
So you're looking at Eros right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you scroll up to the top, so A1.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Then if you look over at 8C, then I do 352 damage. So 100 times the amount of damage is done by them than by me. So that's the parity level that we're looking at here between a naked player and a geared player.
So
what I want to do is that every prestige level you get, you increase your naked stats by 15 points of intellect and 10 points of stam up to 20 levels, and then you cap out there.
So with arenas, you want it to be, I walk in, I have whatever gear I have, and none of that matters. I have X, Y, and Z, and the other person has X, Y, and Z, and it's 100% just skill.
Yes. And then
I don't
each
like that because
prestige
I'm not
level-
skillful.
Well, and this is where if you cap out your prestige level at 20 levels per season, then you are 20% more powerful than a person who is stepping into it for the first time. And so it still gives you an opportunity to raffle stomp somebody.
okay, so
You know, you will just hit harder than somebody who is prestige 1 than a person who's prestige 20.
so
Now,
the goal
the
would be
goal-
swapped from gear to
Prestige.
prestige. Now, here's
Worldwide.
here's the question I have. I can dig the vibe of swapping one focus for another as long as you are giving me a central focus outside of just doing PvP, right? Like I need a purpose and a reason outside of just killing people, which is what I've always liked about gear and having to work, cap
and
out and
that's
do those
where-
things. But
That's where your prestige becomes your new thing. Okay.
well, the problem I have with that is What about the guys that have 11 million prestige level that are not PvPers, but because they do PvP world quests and because they occasionally go in and do stuff, they have managed to be very, very high prestige level.
What's the EFC?
Well, and that's
though?
where this is where the system kind of varies between what we have currently, which is you just have infinite number of prestige levels. At the beginning of each season, your prestige level is 0. Doesn't matter what you had previously, you get reset to 0. And then every prestige level, you get a percentage increase to your primary stats, and then you are given points to input into your secondary stats. And so you could increase your secondary stats how you want to.
How much
So if
are
you're-
the big PvPers going to complain about a system like this, where they actually got to do a thing?
Where they actually get to customize their character?
I don't know. These guys, if they just can't pump and dump, they're not really happy about their life.
Well, and this is where, if you're a Joe Schmo player, there's the thing called the ladder, and you can go look at the ladder, and you can see exactly where people are putting their primary and secondary stats in their PvP character, so you don't have to do the math.
Right.
But for a player like me, I'm interested in math, what is the best place to put my stats? For a Frost Mage, which I played very heavily for many years, your crit cap is 22%. And so once you crit cap yourself, there is no point in putting any more stats into crit. Now, in Legion, with the templates, it was incredibly difficult to even get to crit cap. It was impossible.
It was incredibly difficult to find haste anywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, those kind of stats, it was hard to get those stats into your PvP build because you had a stat template that you had no control over. Oh, crit cap 33? No, I thought it was like 20. Oh, yeah, for PvE. Sorry, reading Twitch chat. But so you get your crit caps, and then you can work on your haste. Or maybe you want to hit harder, so you input mastery to increase the power of your icicles. And it's all up to you. For the layman, it's easy to go and steal from the high-end players. For the people who want to do the math, it's what you want to do.
Yeah. No, I really like that idea, and I know that there are some hardcore WoW fans that will completely balk at what I'm about to say, but that, to me, it sounds like the Paragon system from Diablo 3, right? Like when you hit cap in Diablo, you start getting your Paragon levels, and then you start adding those points into the stats where you want them to go. And people like me who, I'm not a hardcore Diablo player. I just go and look at what Icy Veins or whatever is telling me to use, or I'll look at the leaderboards and go, okay, this is the build I want because this is what the high-end people are doing. This would be the same thing, and I think that makes a lot of sense because it allows people to min-max in their own way.
And then another part of the system is that I still want, because we can't have it to where PvP players get completely left behind in PvE, and we can't have it where PvE players get left behind in PvP.
Why can't we, though? Because they're two separate life forces.
Well, and this is where if you are a PvE player and you are playing in the world, there should be ways to gather prestige points. If you're doing world PvP, congratulations, you're able to get points towards your prestige. And you could do it.
It should be half the rate. If you're doing stuff that is not in an instanced content.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, if you're not doing it, you will not gain it as quickly as in PvP, instance PvP, but you'll still be getting something, And then for the PvP players that, you've played 10, 12 games, you finally got a random roll that said, hey, here's a piece of gear according to your rating that is decent enough to get you somewhere in PvE content. So that when you go, okay, I now want to go and do a dungeon. Oh, crap, I don't have any gear good enough for dungeons. Okay, what do I do?
Well, so I remember the days of you join an LFG raid and they're like, oh yeah, PvP gear on, you're not allowed in the raid.
Well, and honestly, gear isn't even a concern in either PvE, because they give it to you. Throughout the entire expansion with world quests and all the different millions of ways they give the hardcore, the mediocre, and the average everyday guy who can log on twice a week, he could be just as equally as geared as me in a normal raid, sometimes heroic, depending on what he's actually doing content-wise. I do think the gear focus, if they're not going to force the you have to have your choice, and if you want both, then you have to work hard at both. If you want you can't just roll out of bed and say, I want to be able to do both, so I should be able to be a rock star at both, because that isn't.
Well, I can.
But that isn't logical, and that isn't realistic, and it's a little bit ridiculous. If you like doing both, then do them, but do them casually and be okay with that.
I want to bring attention to Calandra.
Oh, that's Angie.
She says bring back PvP vendors.
I've been.
Yes.
Please.
Well, here's something that I want to point out about PvP vendors. Is that every now and then PvP vendors breaks the game. Okay, back in Warlords of Draenor, there was a brief point in time where the best weapon in the game was actually the two-handed sword from the PvP vendor. Okay,
Only time I was doing PvP, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, no, this is a weird phenomenon that every now and then they don't calculate the gear right, and so all of a sudden there was this huge influx of people who didn't want to play PvP. They made Battlegrounds annoying. They destroyed Ashran groups. They frustrated me as a...
Ashran destroyed Ashran groups.
I actually enjoyed Ashran another time.
The imbalance, the Horde Alliance imbalance is what's
because there was a bunch of tryhard PvE players trying to get the best weapon in the game. It totally made PvP difficult to participate in because of these people who, one, didn't want to be there. 2, they didn't know how to PvP, and 3, they were getting in my way from me enjoying the game.
And you're forcing them during Orphans Week, Children's Week, to take your orphan into a GD battleground and to be the person that fucking caps the goddamn flag with your orphan out.
Well, and they did change it. Depp is commenting that they did change it, but why not just eliminate that system from the problem?
Well, that's what I was gonna.
From the system, just. You know what? Gear is a PvE thing. And if you want to be powerful at PvP, you play PvP, you will automatically become more powerful. Every time you exit a game, whether you win or lose, you're working towards your prestige cap for the season. And then to give PvE players a chance at the game, every season your prestige will be reset back down to 0. And you get to re-go through that process. And
so I don't completely agree with that part. I think what would be better would be just remove all of the stuff that can't be controlled. Corruption shouldn't even work in arenas, honestly.
Listen, I got the answer. I think that is I think that makes a lot of sense to me, and I appreciate different ways to try to problem solve, right? And I think I like the idea, kind of, except here is my overall problem with everything they have done with PvP since Mists of Pandaria. The overall problem with any new system they add, any change that they add, anything that they do to try to keep it hip and fresh, little by little, it's not World of Warcraft PvP. It's another game system that we're trying to make it better. It's instant gratification. It's all these things that we try to meld to fix a problem that wasn't fucking broken.
Where's my participation trophy?
It wasn't broken. Holinka and I talk about this every year, and every year I tell him why it wasn't broken. You fixed something that wasn't broken. Should have just left it the fuck alone. There was nothing wrong with it. However, I like the idea, and I think making prestige useful, because that's been my gripe from day one. If you flash back to the very before they even implemented it, and every week after that on the show, my 100% gripe is they made it's just pointless. It's like nipples on men. It's just there. Like, it doesn't serve a purpose. It's good and it makes people feel good, but it doesn't.
This is where, by giving prestige points that allow you to input your own secondary stats, a little bit of reforging back into the game, just for PvP.
Stat reforging. I miss that so much.
I like reforging. I didn't get the best piece of gear for me, but I could make it better towards what I wanted. That was good.
Don't even say shit, Bell.
And this is where, in PvP, go ahead and give us that reforgeability that we get a certain X number of points to input into our own secondary stats. That way, if I want to play a haste-based healer, I can just dump all my points into haste. I can be this amazing healer that dies the second you look at me, you know? Or I could be a really tanky healer. Maybe I just input more points into my stamina, increase my health pool.
Reforging, when they removed that, I was very angry. But, God, did it save my sanity? Because one could argue that it got the majority of the use in PvP. I'm not saying it didn't in PvE, but I know that that's when I was actively arena and actively RBGs. Like, I was living the full La Vida Loca PvP life. So I know that I spent a great deal of... How did I know you were going to even know that song?
I was waiting for
Who
one
doesn't?
to do it.
I feel like they saved me a little bit for myself there because I did spend quite a bit of time.
Well, for me,
and
there's no way to overthink for forging. I don't want this stat. I need this stat. And
But as the meta changes, yes, there is. Absolutely, because it changes.
Here's the next level of why I think this system should be implemented and why I'm working so hard on doing the math to see how it could work. You know, because what I want to do is I want to do all the math. My buddy Garasar, who is on Technically PvP with me, who's the head of the show, I'm stealing him and his warrior, and we're going to do the same numbers for the warrior as we did for the disc priest. I'm going to get a warlock and get them to do the same numbers for me, and then the rest I just about have all the other characters at 120, and I want to present to Blizzard, hey, this is what this would look like, you know, and I'm going to have spreadsheets galore. I'm going to send it to them. And probably not this next expansion, but hopefully maybe the expansion after that, they might have been able to put in the resources to maybe make this thing work.
But how do we make it World of Warcraft PvP again?
Well, and that's where PvP, the thing that's ruining PvP right now is
assholes in
RNG
battlegrounds that don't know what they're doing. But that's just a personal opinion.
way to call me out,
gosh.
God.
But that's normal.
Okay, Bell, I need to ask you about, so you're playing random RBGs. Do you do LFR? Or is LFR the plague?
I try to avoid any pug scenario.
Okay, so I mean, you're playing the LFR version of Battlegrounds.
Unfortunately, and it's terrible.
You know, and
I don't have a
It's
choice.
It's so much fun.
I
have.
Can be
It
fun.
makes me so happy inside.
I
going
don't
into
have a
random
steady
battlegrounds.
RBG team. I tried
And that can
several
be a problem.
times, and then life happened, and grandchildren, and just stuff. But you're right. I do not.
You should be rewarded for your PvP playing in a way that makes you more powerful in player versus player. The system that I'm presenting would do that. You know,
I just don't like the fact that everything is just baseline. It just feels gross.
What do you mean that baseline? Like the starting point?
Yeah.
So
no,
what if you have 10 warlocks, 10 DKs, 10 blah blah blah, all in an RBG scenario, and they all have the exact same prestige?
Then they are equally powerful according to stats. Now, one warlock may be heavily crit based. One warlock may be haste based. One warlock may be mastery based. You know, and it all depends on what that player's playstyle is, because they're getting the points to input into their stats where they want to.
Okay, so I'll be honest, Winstead. The only way I would think that this would be quote unquote fun or interesting is if it's a PvP brawl. If everyone was just naked, everyone has the same intellect.
You just
same
want a bunch
stats.
of naked men together. Like, that's all
I
you're
mean-
trying to do.
But again, this is
Why
where,
wouldn't you?
This is where you get to input into your stats to where you want them. Now, it's all percentage based. I mean, most of the damage that you do in game to other players is based on a percentage.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to manipulate these numbers where even if you are a PvE player and you have a million plus health, you just make it so that, okay, this is how much damage it would do against their naked stats. What's the percentage variable? And then all of a sudden your numbers are huge against this PvE player because you're doing a percentage-based damage versus their percentage base. And then you translate that into their current HP pool.
How about I have a counter offer.
Okay.
let's remove prestige completely. Let's send it to wherever we sent Ashran to.
Ashran is in the larger battlegrounds now.
Sadly, Holika just won't let it go. Like, Holika just refuses to let it die. But I like Ashran, so I can't really complain. How about we remove prestige? How about we bring our PvP benders back? How about we make it where if you want to be successful in PvP, you have to do what you have to do in PvP, just like if you want to be successful in PvE and you want to raid harder tiers, you want to raid higher content, you actually have to do the fucking work. And if you don't want to do the work, then stop your bitching about not having the gear that you need, because we're not going to give you amazing PvP gear for not doing the PvP stuff, just like we're not going to hand you mythic gear for not doing mythics. I don't do mythics. I'm not complaining. How come we can't just bring it back to...
Because there was always a problem, Belle, that we dealt with. And the problem was that your highest level raid gear was 99% of the time always better than the PvP gear.
It should
When
be.
was it? What patch and what expansion was it?
What I'm saying is that in PvP.
Yeah, no, that should never, there should never, the two shall meet, right? There should never be...
But when was it that they made your PvE gear downscale in PvP?
I can't remember.
Oh, that was, Warlords of Draenor, wasn't it?
Because that wasn't, that they should squash all the good stuff, because that made sense. It didn't make sure that people in Mythic raiding weren't rolling over people.
I forgot about that.
arenas.
Now you're just talking more along the lines of, okay, so you want to make PvE gear less good in PvP circumstances.
Which
Why
it
don't
should.
we just go to what I'm presenting and say, gear is irrelevant. It's all about how much you PvP.
But I don't PvP all the time, though.
Okay, and that's fine, and you'll be at a power level comparative to how much you do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's Belle's point, right? Like, you're only, like, it's, you get out what you put in, right? So if you're mostly running your mythics, right, you should be really, really good at mythics.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're doing raiding, you should get the stuff that makes you really good at raiding.
Yep.
And if you want to do PvP,
you should be doing the
then
stuff that gets you really, really good at kicking
PvP.
faces in.
But now,
if you want to do all of that content, but you're going to be mediocre at it all. But you just need
unless
to be okay
you're
with
single with no children, no animals, and no job and no life, right? Then you can do it.
But again, this is a good system, because then I think it would be a good system, because then it does eliminate the problem of, oh, if you want to be good at PvP, you have to go get this raid trinket for the tanks. It gives you a huge bubble. You know,
remember,
and that's terrible. That's
remember
terrible to have in your PvP system.
Remember the first 2 days of reset, and you capped your conquest. It's probably the second week you've capped, because you need your weapon at this point, and it's going to take you 2 weeks to get it. And you rush home from work, you throw your Hot Pocket in the microwave, you boot up your computer, and you are calling your friends on Skype before the days of Zoom and Discord, and you are so excited to go to the Serpent Spine to be grouped up with all of the other like-minded PvPers, all showing off and doing weird shit and flexing and dropping their toys, and one's dry humping the other and whatever weird shit they do. And this was your life for so long that this became your reason for you had a reason to log in, and it was a community because you all had to go to the same place and usually around the same time, and it felt good, and you were excited, and you had a drive and a reason outside of clicking stats, outside of random maybe good gear boxes, maybe when you win, unless you're in a battle group that doesn't favor Alliance and you always lose.
Well, and again, this is where
that's
and, you know,
what we
Calandra
need.
Calandra, you bring up a point of, you know, the tank trinket. They gave a safeguard. Why did they have to give a safeguard? It's because they messed up and put something in the game that broke PvP. So they needed to give the PvP players who didn't want to go PvE a handout so that they could still be competitive against all these PvE players. You know, it
And
just
that's
broke.
really truly
And
the
let's just-
problem.
let's
The
just
inability to
eliminate that
separate,
problem.
right? Yeah,
Let's
agree.
eliminate that problem. If you want to gear and you want to chase that gear, go PvE. Okay. If you want to compete and actually see how good at the game you really are, come PvP. Because you know what? It's not a dance against some raid boss. Okay. Where, at 23 seconds into the raid, the boss is going to do this.
Yeah.
And so that means you push
It's
this.
dynamic, right? It changes.
Yeah, no,
and
PvP is.
and
I'm
it's
playing
never
against
the
a person.
same.
I'm playing against a person, and I have to. Are they going to fake cast me this time, and so I need to hold on to my kick, or do I kick them and it was the fake cast, and did they fake me out? You know, that's a whole other dynamic. That I mean, if you really want to be good at the game, you PvP. Let's just face it. You know,
It just
Same.
really, I keep always harping on because
I'd be more impressed with that statement if you did both instead.
Oh, I've done heroic raiding, and I've beaten out
Uh-huh,
and gotten
yeah.
my ahead of the curve and everything else.
Likely sorry.
I
know?
miss having to carry 2 full equipment sets in your bag. I know that's ridiculous because I don't even have time to even take a shower these days, let
What are you talking about? I
alone.
already have like 3
But-
sets of gear in
no,
my bag.
but-
Same.
No, but that's just for PvE, but I miss having my PvE and my PvP set.
I'm talking about PvE.
I miss the distinction and I miss the separation.
Mm-hmm.
Where
And there's still a possibility that if you, because trinkets are fun in PvP. Having the right trinket, have just PvE trinkets don't work, and get your trinkets from PvP. You know, if you want to find, they
Well,
get-
like I said at the
like
beginning
that,
when we
but
first started everything,
separate
Residium would be a good kind of sprinkle into PvP
No,
if they aren't going to do a
no.
template because
No.
it provides a vendor so you can pinpoint
no,
what gear that you
no,
want.
Rem,
stop,
Rem.
stop bandaging and give me back what I'm asking for. Stop
What the
throwing, stop.
Fuck! I just said put in a vendor.
No, our vendor, not add a Residium vendor.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah.
our currency vendor for PvP. Conquest, honor, hello.
Yes. That's exactly what I was just about to say, Belle. Like, Rem, they had that. They had it
They
where
took
you had.
it.
Yes, they took it away. They already had a vendor, and it
I've
boggles my
PvP'd
mind
since
that they
day
took
one,
it
I'm
away
fully aware.
for
But
PvP,
that's what I'm saying.
and they gave it to the Mythic Plus. They literally did the same thing. It's only for 3.
They just
pieces.
robbed from one and gave to the other, and it's really sad because it made the brothers
Well, and-
fight.
And here's where I would say, those marks of honor you have, that currency that you continue to accumulate, that after you buy all the transmog gear, there's nothing left to do with it.
Except Seal of Fate, which you shouldn't have to spend your PvP currency on.
Yeah, no, if you want to spend it on that, then fine. At least that's something.
Better than gold.
I've got over 1,000 of those damn things. And you know what? If in my system, if you want to reforge, if you want to change your stat template, it costs tokens of honor. So there's finally a purpose for them.
Well, so what's the total, like, which one of you can math? It's probably going to be Rem if I had to guess, but what would you say, how long would you say it would take you to get every single piece of previous gear using a Mark of Honor? Like, at what point would Marks of Honor cease to be important?
Are you talking about previous gear for like other expansions?
Yeah,
or-
for
Yeah, for the
previous,
transmog.
yeah, for transmog. So how much of that do you suppose you would spend, and then you would start just accumulating and banking?
It's
What do you-
about 100 marks per set.
Yeah, because it's like 10 for some items, and then it's like 7 or some shit. So.
Yeah, to get the whole set, I want to say it's about 100 marks, and I basically have every single set that I think looks good.
So how many sets are there?
Oh, there's a ton.
There's a lot. There's I have 2 of them from BC. I have 1 of them from Wrath. Like, there's a lot of them though.
So
I'd have to pull up
say,
we'd have to pull up the information.
so
though.
say after, we'll say shoot it at a high number, 5,000 Mark of Honor. I'm sure it's lower than that.
Mhm.
You have nothing left to do with them.
Yep.
What can you buy from the vendors in Borealis? There's
I guess you do the 1 mark for the potions and stuff.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
that's just
the
BGs,
second
so
win,
that's-
the third wins, but
that's-
you only use them in non-rated battlegrounds.
yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. So on that note, you get boxes in arenas for that shit. Like, what's the point in that?
I agree.
Nope.
There's just
I mean,
there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense.
When you look at most player versus player games, you want something that allows your character to progress and feel more powerful. And then needs to be a way to allow newer players entry into the game where they don't feel so raffle stomped that you
Well, that was the argument
can't
for what the
progress.
system that they did previously, where everything's just kind of equal.
Rem and I had a conversation about that. I believe it was Rem and I don't actually know, but we talked about maybe there's different levels of PvP difficulty when you queue, similar to how you can queue for normal, heroic islands and stuff like that. Like, what if instead of it being you have your rated content for what they assume is rated, but maybe I've been doing battlegrounds that are non-rated, and maybe I want to dip my toe in to not, the queue, but I want to go progress through arenas, but I'm fairly new, so I know MMR has a lot to do with it, but not really, because if Rem is 2K rated and I'm no K rated, I'm gonna kind of ride on his train a little bit, right? He's gonna give me a little bit of lift to be where I really shouldn't be.
Well, and that's where if you work the system that I'm talking about, you could do skirmishes and earn points towards prestige, where you're not guaranteed a match against a high-rated player, even if you are a high-rated player. And so you could tag team up with somebody, but any PvP that you do should award you progression towards prestige levels in the system that I'm trying to develop.
Worldwide.
What if you could also
Worldwide.
say, I'm not ready for medium, I'm beginner, so you have 3 different queue styles or 3 different
and I think the rating system does that pretty well already.
I don't believe that's the case. I gotta use
MMR handles that fairly well.
well,
Yeah, I think
I've
it
been
does
places that I
no.
shouldn't be because of who my partners are. Do you get what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
if you're going to the red light district, that's on you.
But I'm saying, like, I'm on occasion, I've been places that I don't belong, and I know that I don't belong. But here I am making the dream happen because I was fortunate to have 2 people.
Hey, when we help you in keys, that's us helping.
That's
you.
what I'm saying. But that's the same concept, except the keys were fighting NPCs, right? It's a little bit more scary when you're fighting other humans who have to deal with 2 great people and this one basic bitch that they brought in. But
that would only be a problem though if it actually put your rating at their level.
Doesn't it do an in-between?
No, so like your MMR isn't like your rating. It's like, let's say I'm 2K, you're at like 500. It kind of like equalizes it out. So
It should never. It should never.
1500.
It should never put someone who has not done an arena in 3 seasons in the same close, not even in the same neighborhood as somebody who is 2K rated, 1500 rated. Those 2 things are not.
But you're in the group,
where the fix
though.
is, Bell,
It
where the
shouldn't
fix
be.
is, Bell, is that the more you play, the more likely you are to end up in the position where you should be.
So I don't want to be an
if
imposter.
if you are starting with a 22 rated player and you're a 0 rated player, if you play, 20 matches, your MMRs will start to shrink to where you should be.
And it does do good if you are just starting out and you do, like, you can get caught up relatively quickly that way. There are a lot of good, like, I'm going to have Rem carry me through some arenas at some point once he gets his stuff up there. Then I am going to do the exact thing I was just saying, because that's what friends are for. That is what...
I want to tackle...
Friends are friends to be carried.
Right, exactly. That's the point.
Calandra's popping in with the give PvP vendors back and balance the items better.
Yeah.
I don't trust Blizzard to be able to balance items.
I got to agree with you there.
Okay? I just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
That's
they
asking a
have,
lot.
unfortunately, a track record now where I believe it is impossible for them to balance items. So give me the power to balance my
Why do
character.
you suppose that is, though?
Well, I think part of it is that you're trying to
Appease
when you think
11
of just-
million different types
when you
of
think
stuff?
of just pure brain power, they've got what, 1,000? Let's say they have 1,000 employees at Blizzard, okay, and they have 1,000 brains able to look at the problem and try and fix said problem. As a player base, we have what, 5 million to 10 million players. And so we've got 5 million to 10 million brains looking at the same problem that 1,000 people are looking at over here. And we can just break it easy. I mean, we just have more brain power on our player side than the Blizzard devs have on their side. You know, and so we break things, and then they see that we break it, and then they have to try and fix it. You know? So it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, we're always going to be able to beat the devs at their own game. We just have more people trying to break the game than devs trying to fix the game.
How?
And so just give the PvP balancing over to the players and see what they do with it. And if there does something that they figure out, oh, if I get my Warlock to this crit rating, this mastery rating, and this stamina rating, then I just demolish everything. And then they can go in, okay, we need to actually affect baseline stats and bring that down a little bit. But it'll be on the players instead of the devs being like, oh, here's this item. And then we take that item and go,
So
ooh.
you
if
do-
I
On
do
that note, I
item,
don't trust
break
the players
game.
either.
So thinking about this, actually, coming in from that perspective, we did lose a lot more control over ourselves in that regard. They did seek to fully 100% solve all the balancing issues by being the sole balancer. I didn't really actually think of it from that perspective.
Well, and part of the problem too is, like you said, they have X amount of employees. There's millions and millions of players. We use items in ways they probably even think of, and so it causes other issues.
They tried to be Big Brother, too much Big Brother, to where they gave us no choice.
Well, have you actually tried to gear just by doing PvP? It's impossible.
Yeah, I did So I was really gung-ho beginning of expansion, guys. I was like, and I still have fun. I just did. But they did take a lot away. I guess I didn't think about reforging and what it really was missing by taking that out. I didn't think of it from that perspective. I think if you put hard caps on something because you don't trust the people, that makes sense too. Give us back the ability to shuffle things around the way we think we should have them. I'll use the exorbitant amount of RNG on everything, which one could argue it should be. However, I have never seen more RNG in terms of stats on gear in the last 2.5 expansions than ever, which that's great that Blizzard's giving me the choice, but maybe Winstead's onto something. Maybe they shouldn't have removed that choice from me in the beginning, and maybe that really was the beginning of the problem, because they removed the choice. They forced us to take the pill they wanted us to take, and now we fight back everything that they do because it continues to be the same where there isn't choice. So maybe the problem went back farther than I realized. I don't know if that made sense to anyone.
Yeah, oh my god, RNG is such a huge thing, and it is the bane of my absolute existence. Especially with corruption. Corruption makes the RNG 10 times worse, right?
I don't know, I think that's kind of fun. I'm a sadist or a masochist a little bit there. I kind of like the corruption.
No, I mean, I like the corruption system. My problem is...
gross.
What?
You like the corruption system?
I do. I think it's fun.
No, it's fun. For me, the issue is it's so RNG, and so my paladin is way stronger than my brewmaster, and I've put way more hours into my brewmaster at this point. And my paladin just happened to get better traits just randomly, just because my monk keeps getting all of this shit crit haste rings. I've literally gotten
crit haste is amazing.
For the last 3 fucking weeks in my chest with corruption, and they are my worst stats as a brewmaster.
I don't mind being frustrated that a gear piece isn't dropping. That doesn't bother me. It isn't about instant gratification.
Curiosity, I was about to say your government name, Bell. What corruption have you gotten so far with your
What do you mean?
game time? So, like, what corruption items do you have? Do you recall?
I have honed. I don't know. I only know honed.
Okay. Well, we'll look at this after the show.
So,
but yeah, when you have people that devote hours and hours and hours into PvE or PvP, and you go to your ult, and then you get infinite stars, it's like it's a kick in the nuts. It's just dumb.
It's a flip desk.
To me, I got to be honest though. That's par for the course, and that's part of that particular piece of RNG. I got to say something, and I'm not going to make any friends here, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that was the same still as it is now in terms of RNG and you getting a lot of good stuff. You getting a lot of good stuff on one tune, and it's not the main tune you play, or you getting a whole bunch of shit on your main, and you get all the good stuff on your ult. That has always been the case.
Not at this
gear.
caliber, though. When Infinite Stars increases your damage by 10, 20, 30%, that's too big
Well,
of a difference.
I agree. I think the
RNG.
items themselves need an adjustment. I think they're trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink
Yeah,
at
it's a fun
players.
system, but the disparity between...
The power difference, I
Yeah.
agree with. It.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. My
Okay.
big issue is the fact that like there's not always a deterministic way to go get it. Like I don't mind like if I have to kill the same boss every single week and it just
I'll do
doesn't-
it, right? For like
Yeah, I'll
3
do it.
months. Yeah.
I'll do it. But it's the thing is, it's just like I have to raid, and it's like okay, I don't like any of the tank trinkets from this raid. Sigil's okay, but the Eternal Palace tanking trinkets are just still by far better. And so I have to go back and sit there and just farm Mythic Eternal Palace in pugs to go get my best in slot. And so it's like for me that's deterministic, and I can deal with that, and that's fine. But the issue with the corruption is it's so random how I get it. I'm guaranteed a thing in my Mythic Plus chest, but
You never know what
that's
you're going to
it.
get.
I never know what I'm going to get. Like if there was for me,
Yeah, life is like a box of chocolates, bro.
It's the
Come on.
same system as legendaries, which legendaries pissed me off because they weren't legendary. They were
yeah,
they
there
were
was
you
that.
have to have
They
them,
were-
but you
yeah,
have
they
no way
were-
to target them.
They are
Yeah.
gatekeepers. That's what corruption
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, and corruption is great. Like I love the idea of having these effects that can be really powerful or really and really make me strong, but at the same time, I have consequences for those decisions. Right? I can go in as a tank into raid and run 100 corruption, but my raid's gonna fucking hate me for it.
I'm running 50
What if
right
there was
now,
a
so fun.
hybrid with this prestige system, and what if your level of prestige determined the gear you could buy?
Ooh.
Then you
Ooh.
fall back. Then you fall back to a problem that we have right now. Currently, is that if you want, your rating determines the eye level of gear that you get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so
Since we don't
If
have a
you-
real way to acquire gear pieces, like in a manner that makes sense for PvP content, what if your prestige level was tied to the tier of gear that you can purchase? And in order to be able to, similar to like, I know they have Gladiator has their own gear, they get their own dressing
Visuals
room and all that, but a true, similar to Honor Conquest, how it used to be tiered out, right? Where you could start with getting your Honor gear and all
Your
that.
combatant, yeah.
Yeah.
What if it worked that way and it was tied to prestige, and prestige continues to matter? Because if you don't have that, and this could mean you could still reset every season, because to me that's pretty great. That means you got to bust your ass if you want to be able to get the higher gear. No? Does that sound
you're
crazy?
onto something here. You're onto something.
My stance is still though is that if you do that, you're still putting it in Blizzard's ballpark to have to balance the gear, and they've proven that they are unable to.
Okay,
do
so you just want a template like it was.
Well, maybe
I
though
want a
that's
template that
maybe
I
it's
control.
worked into. I'm saying like maybe it's worked into that system where it isn't just.
Well, and this is where I would love to see that if you want to buy gear, you can buy gear as a PvP player that will get you into dungeons, that will get you into raids, that will get you in. I mean, my ideal world is the best rated PvP gear would be good enough to start you at heroic raids. And then if you want to do heroic raids, you'll be able to start those raids, and you'll be able to get upgrades from those raids, and you can go on to do mythic raids. But if you're a mythic raider with the best gear in the game, and you suddenly decide, oh, I want to go raffle stomp people in PvP, the answer to that is no, because you haven't done any PvP. So your gear is irrelevant in PvP until you put the time in to be good and gab those stats.
And do you remember?
Well, that's how it should be both sides.
Yes. Do you remember? You remember
And
the
that's all I'm
feeling
saying.
of going
That's all
into
I'm
a
saying.
battleground knowing you are just gonna spend the entire fucking run getting your teeth kicked in because you are rocking honor gear and everyone else is conquest because you're late in the fucking season capping and getting your items. I love
that was harsh.
that. But
I
You
will
like
say,
getting your
It's
face
hard.
kicked in?
It is hard.
I
It's
will
so
say that the
good.
harshness of the one problem that I did see with, like, if you did start in the season late, and you were not currently capped, the people around you, their gear was just so much better that it was really
yeah, but
hard to continue.
Blizzard adjusted that though, where
They did.
you got it at
They
they
did.
fixed that.
And that's and did they? Because now it's just a random drop where I can't target anything.
Oh no, this whole conquest
No.
thing that was introduced that I was so excited about because I thought they were inching back to the way it used to be. That's a total fucking joke. Like, total joke. Pointless, meaningless, wasted my time. I would rather eat a bag of dicks. Like, totally not.
Do you still have those
I do. Not for nothing. Instead, I was given a bag of dicks as a gift, and they are gummy dicks. And when
So you would put them in your mouth.
well, so they were old because they're really old
And hard.
and very, very, very hard. When Rem came over to help the ginger put up the temporary wall, I had to take everything down. I still haven't put everything up, and the bag of dicks was on top of the box that was in the hallway, and my sons were like, "Oh, can I have this candy?" I don't think they actually saw what the shapes were, but I was mortified.
No.
Because, kids will never stop, and if you tell them no, they can't have said candy, they're going to continue to push until they get said candy. So, did Winstead?
Sorry.
Is Winstead frozen?
Yeah. I thought he was thinking really hard, looking at chat.
I thought it was too.
I thought he was. I really did.
And he's gone.
So while oh god, it's
Hang on, let me come over here. We're good.
wait. Oh shit, I fucked it up. Soiled it.
So, the show's going really good.
No, it's still not fixed.
Oh no, no, it's even...
I don't know what to.
I am the host. Oh,
Why is there two of you?
That's terrifying.
Guys, I'm not even gonna bother
Do
fixing
we really
it.
want 2 Rem? Like, that's scary.
I'm not even gonna bother fixing it.
This is the apocalypse.
While we wait for Winstead to get back, the way he froze tells me his computer probably shut off. But, so, though I don't know that I particularly fancy his idea, I do...
I know where his mind is going. I just don't agree with every point. That's why I'm making the naked jokes.
Maybe we
But
could...
I like templates in PvP. I like the idea because that leans more towards skill. But gear, it's still fun to get. So
I just... Is it illogical to... For PvP specifically, is it illogical to just go back to when it was perfect and then...
it's asking too much.
And then try it again? I get we have to evolve, right? This isn't a question of me wanting to rebuke change or me being stuck in my box and refusing to step outside of it. But is it can you not go home? Is this one of those moments where you can't? And if you can, why don't you? Why can't we just go back to 1 and then add and see? I just don't understand why they don't see what we do the way that we see it. Like, I know they listen. I know I know that they're trying, and I know all these things, and it isn't, I'm not trying to insult them or bash them. I love Blizzard. You all know that. Like, I've rolled through a really lot of bad Warlock changes, guys, and I'm still here to tell the tale. But why can't they just go back?
Well, I hope they kind of do, because I mean, with Shadowlands, they're kind of saying, "Hey, we were wrong about doing the pruning," so maybe they can do the same thing with PvP? Question mark.
And that's why I have hope, is because they want to bring back that player agency, right? So they want you to have something a little more deterministic. They said, like, your legendaries are going to be crafted, which Legion was one extreme. Legion had everything is RNG. Your legendaries can drop from your PvP chest. It can drop from an emissary cache. It can come from raid. It can come from Mythic Plus, whatever. BFA, they were like, oh, people don't want RNG, so they literally went from one extreme to the other. Where think of essences like your legendaries that you need,
Yeah.
right? The essences are kind of like the Legion
But
legendaries.
but
They're like,
at
oh,
least we can target our ranks, and we can target getting those to a
Yeah.
certain
Speaking of
degree.
essences,
And I
can they
agree.
just make it an account round, please?
They're never
Yes.
going to do that. Why would
they're
they?
not, but
They're never, because then it's too much easy.
my thing with the essences is I get frustrated that one of my best in slot minor essences comes from PvP for PvE content.
I agree with that.
That is absolutely infuriating, and I'm sure the PvPers feel the same way. It's like I have to do mythic pluses to get my best in slot thing for PvP.
It's not that I don't
It's
want
not-
to do it,
it's-
but I shouldn't have to.
It's not even
Yes.
the best in slot. It's really every single item needs to come from Mythic.
You're back!
Oh, Jesus.
Hold on, let me fix our... So, the boxes are swapped, which is kind of funny, and I'm debating on, do I leave it? Ah! Yay,
fixed
he
it.
fixed it.
Hey,
You're amazing.
Rem. Oh,
God, no! It's
I
zoomed
like
in.
being on top.
We can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear him fine.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can hear him
see.
fine.
It's just me? Oh. Okay.
Hold, please. My face is too big. There
So-
we go.
Yep. there
For
we
a
go.
minute there, we thought you were just thinking about what I was talking
Yeah, you're
about in
like-
the bag of dicks. And
Yeah,
then it became very obvious that you were frozen. It was very funny.
That's because I was just absolutely blown away by you with a dick in your mouth.
My awesome parenting with highlighting that for my children in the hallway. Winning. Where were we? So, bag of dicks aside.
Bag of dicks. Yep. No, but I mean, it's definitely a system. What I'm presenting is a complete change to what everything that we've known in World of Warcraft PvP. Because you did have your conquest, you did have gear that you would accumulate, you did have all the things that you would do based off of a PvE system that they tried to convert for PvP. And it didn't work well. It worked, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. Legion, we got a taste of what a system would be like if it was just templated, and then everybody, it leveled the playing field.
Kind of altered it on their own.
Yes, and it leveled the playing field a tremendous amount, that if you were
Mhm.
never in PvP, you could suddenly start PvPing and you were at least competitive.
But they'll never trust us to make those decisions again, because clearly we
Well,
can't
that's
be
awkward
trusted.
because we don't trust them.
Well,
either.
it's-
Yeah, no, and that's where the system that I'm trying to put in place, and I'm going to be presenting this to Blizzard devs. I'm going to be, I want to do my homework first before I give this to them. But basically it's, hey, trust us with little sliders. Let's see what we can do to help balance our own game. And then if we break something, then you have the big sliders to help bring us down. But then it's not, oh crap, we made this item and it suddenly got put into a situation that we never anticipated and it's broken the game. And
Well,
Newsflash,
there
they
is-
do that
Make
right
it-
before every PvP tournament, and then they have to hotfix mid-tournament
Is-
anyway.
yeah,
But
no,
is
and,
there-
and so my saying is eliminate that problem. We can fix that problem.
is
There
there
are-
a specific
Where-
item recently that you could call on? Because I don't recall that happening recently.
Oh, the tank trinket from one of the raids recently was so good. It just made all PvP games go to like 60 and 70%
Oh,
dampening.
was it the diamond off of Opulence?
I can't remember the exact item. I never did the raid to try and get it. All I know is that suddenly people
It was
were
like
getting...
a 3 tier.
Crazy
If it's
shield.
2 tiers ago, then yeah, it was probably
Was
the,
it 3 tiers? 2 tiers.
It's
I think it was
Zara,
two.
then.
It was
Oh,
Zara
2
lore.
tiers.
I'm pretty-
Angie
I'm
said
pretty
2
sure it
tiers.
was the-
and then there's the example of the of the PvP sword in Warlords of Draenor.
Actually, there's a
If you
sword
think
right
of
now
this item-
from the new raid where it does a shit ton of damage.
based on your armor.
No, not the corruption. It's an axe where it does like 60, 80 something thousand damage. It's like a proc. It's from the new raid, but I just saw it when I was watching CD and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's an item that they bring into PvP and it breaks PvP.
Yeah.
So let's just stop it. Just stop.
Well, that's something that, like Bell mentioned, that's something that Holinka has been trying to stop since ever.
Yeah.
So
And
But
they
he doesn't-
almost did it with Legion. In
What's
Legion,
his-
can you think of an item that absolutely just broke PvP?
No, that Legion was. I mean, I have nothing. My only problem with Legion was the legendaries. That's the only thing, honestly.
Yeah,
That's the only
legendaries-
complaint I had. Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
happy with PvP because it wasn't what I wanted, but that really the large complaint was the legendaries.
Well, and the
Yeah, that's-
largest complaint that I heard, and it was very consistent, and I even had the same complaint, is that with the PvP templates, there was no way for me to customize my character. It was my character, but I couldn't do anything that would make it mine. It was just generic mage.
That's
or
kind of what
generic
your little brain system is wanting to do, though.
Yes, is now, hey, you're a mage, you're a frost mage. You want to make sure that you're at crit cap? Go hit crit cap. That way you have your shadow combos consistently.
So is it because you're talking about when you prestige? I thought it was just increasing your stats. So it's
it
giving you a
increases-
choice
so it
to
will-
pinpoint
yes.
where you want it to be.
Yeah, so it'll baseline increase your intelligence or your strength or whatever your main stats need to be competitive. Those will baseline increase. All secondary stats, you will be given a pool of points, and you can then input those points into whatever secondary.
Oh, see
stats.
that my IQ isn't high enough for that one.
So,
So
again, then it's not World of Warcraft PvP. It's another system that's put in place to replace
Bell,
what we know as
Reforging.
WoW.
Reforging was World of Warcraft.
But we
And
had
that's all I'm
gear that
asking
we had gear that we did the cha-cha with. Like, I get it. I think it has a lot of validity, but it isn't World of Warcraft. It's another system replacing our PvP system.
but there's no other game or system that uses that kind of template. Or
We're the oddball
implementation.
as far as like PvP templates.
That's
and
why
things like that.
that's part of the love of the WoW community in general is that we
Well, and
are
that's
the
where-
oddball, right?
And one of the things is I was talking with some other people about this is that trinkets do make the game fun, and they can have specific PvP trinkets that you can get, that you can receive, that alters your character on another plane. You know, if you want to be a little bit more defensive, then you target the PvP defensive trinket.
But there shouldn't be a
wanna be more
huge power
aggressive-
gap between one trinket or the other, and it
There
shouldn't
shouldn't be.
make or break your gameplay
And
if you
it
don't have
shouldn't
said
be some-
trinket.
Yes, and it shouldn't be something that if I go into raid and get that trinket, I can then bring it into PvP
Yeah.
and ruin everybody else's day and make arena matches last.
I
until
personally
6
don't
p.m.
think PvE stuff should work in PvP and vice versa. I think that those
and that's all my system is doing. That's all I'm trying to present is that, hey, get rid of this PvP, because what we've tried to do in the past is we tried to make PvP fit a PvE system with gearing.
No, and it should never. It should always be different, and it should be uniquely
And
different.
so Bell, this would make it unique, is because when you get a prestige level, you get that dopamine hit that now, oh, my character is automatically more powerful, and now I get to customize my character in a way that makes them different from every other character. And if I'm not interested enough to do that, I can go look at the highest rated player that plays my class in spec.
That makes
I
it
can
more.
just steal their
It's always going to be. Well, it's always going to be cookie cutter, but I don't know. I just
But
like
you-
getting.
but what it
Listen,
does-
if
it
it's
opens-
not broken, I don't seek to fix it. I do look at the top of the ladders because they've already
Hey,
they've
done the
already
math.
They've done the math.
they're in the middle of
But you know
Walmart
what?
with the shopping
There's-
cart tipped over, fixing the fucking wheels at 2:00 in the morning, guys. Why
But
do I have
here's
to do that?
Here's something fun that happens when you give players these kind of choices.
There's a
And a
Tinker
great
reference.
example is like the
Jesus.
tanks. You know, when you give people customization in their own game, unique things happen. When you give people arena comps to develop, every now and then something comes out of left field because one person figured it out. And
But they break it
completely
every
changes
week
the meta.
anyway. Blizzard
Yes.
breaks it
And
themselves.
that
So what's the
makes it
difference?
amazing. That's what gives the game life. That's what makes the game fun. Is that every now and then somebody comes up with something new, and so there could be that cookie cutter template, and all of a sudden one person figures out, hey, wait a second. If I do it differently, if I do it this way, I'm actually better than everybody else that does the cookie cutter.
They
template.
should throw a real curveball and just remove demon hunters and call it good.
But no, it's one of those things where if you have more power over your, I mean, because one of the fun things about gearing is the fact that you can target an item from X dungeon or X raid, and when you get it, that feels good. Okay, And that's a very PvE thing.
But it used to be PvP thing.
Used to be, but it never really worked because you could always get better gear from raids and then bring it into PvP.
Not Miss Pandaria.
If I could get Shadow Priest,
from
back
what
in
I
my
remember-
You
level,
were penalized
oh my
for
God.
having PvE gear.
From what I remember,
So-
you were still competitive though with
Yeah,
your
but-
top-rated PvP.
No,
PvE
you were
gear.
penalized if you didn't. You were penalized because you were missing important PvP only stats.
Well, and
so
the way
like,
they did that was through the R word. What's that?
PvP
Resilience?
power and resilience.
yeah,
Resilience.
you were
Okay.
so you could have the high end rating gear and use it in PvP, but you were going to be
The
missing.
R-word.
You were going to be missing important PvE only stats that you needed, so it was frowned upon. And never did you ever see
Well, and
world
that was
first
where-
raiders going in non full conquest out gear, right?
Well, and this is where that created a stigma that if I ever did want to go and raid, I was immediately shunned from the raid.
Yeah, you should
Well,
be.
that's what I mentioned
You
before. Yeah,
should be.
that's-
Don't
How
show
can I
up to
start?
raid in
How can I
PvP
start?
gear.
Well, and how can I start changing between the two?
You go where everyone
what
else
level-
goes. Take your
Okay, and
ass
that's-
on
that's
over to
exactly-
LFR with the rest of
That's
the
exactly
newbies
what I'm saying
and
should
I used to have 12 items for PvE, PvP, and then even more so when I played different specs. I miss those days, honestly.
like we complained, right? We're like, oh god, I can't wait to not have this. And I
My
was
bag space.
I was on the top of the list of going, wow, this is so unburdening and refreshing, and purging is good, but god, do I miss it. And help me, because I did not know what I was thinking or feeling back then, and really I should not have been given what I asked for, ultimately.
Well, part of the problem is they remove the need. Well, one, the vendors in PvP, but the need to have PvP at all. There's,
yeah.
I could go do Mythic 15s and then go into an arena, and then I'd be fine.
There's no forcing one or the other. You could fluidly swap, and I don't think that you should have that ability. I think they should be two separate worlds, and they can collide at some point when you are ready to collide them. But I just don't feel good about Blizzard telling me what's fun for me, because the last 3-4 years that has been the problem. It isn't Blizzard firing people, it isn't Blizzard's bad PR, it isn't poor development, it isn't broken systems. It is Blizzard started telling me what is fun for me instead of letting me make the decision on what is fun. They told me that I had to do this in order to do this because you want to make sure it feels good for me. Let me decide what feels good. You don't have to tell me what feels good. I'm vocal, I'll tell ya.
So completely unrelated, but in the sense that we have to do other things to do other things. I was doing the mount farm where you have to do like 30 days of dailies. They made me do pet battles for 5 days straight. They can. Oh.
I still don't have that little ankle biter mount thing for doing the little bird. You had to do stuff. You had to do dailies with him.
I still have that quest. Still sending my
I
quest.
haven't done it because I'm like, please stop trying to tell me what's fun for me, and pet battles is not fun for me. It's fun for many. So maybe that, maybe you having this conversation with them, even if nothing comes of it in terms of like them taking an idea or a system, maybe getting them to at least acknowledge that it is fucked. Like
the gearing system, and even like the Calandra again is coming in that you customize your character through gear, and again Blizzard has proven that they cannot balance gear. They've just proven it time and time again.
Wait, with the legendaries, with the corruption,
with all of it, they cannot balance gear, and so why give them the opportunity? And especially if we put gear, so we put gear vendors back in, we still have the problem that we know that they're not very good at balancing gear. You're reducing your ability to customize your own character because they have to try and get the gear to fit as many different classes and specs as possible. So then you're taking away from development time, because now you have to have a guy sitting there creating all the gear instead of just going, oh, here's this template that you get to adjust as you see fit. And I mean, gosh, if they go to Wowhead to see what the best template is for their given class spec, then they do that. but it's something that they have to build into by gaining the prestige levels.
There's
It's
something
they can't just be given.
There's something to be said for games, not even just PvP, but PvE, where it's all the same gear. You just get stuff to add to it to make it better, more. And I'm going to use the only 2 games I know recently, because I don't play a lot of like MMOs, right? WoW and a few other ones, but I don't focus heavily on those, and they're not my whatever. But like I'll use like Atlas as an example, or Arc. Arc's probably a bad idea, but you have your base gear, and you get higher versions of that depending on the content you do, but it's still just your base gear, and you do stuff to it. You do stuff to yourself to highlight those different things in your gear. You can work towards crafting higher qualities of said gear, or you can do the harder quality, the harder bosses, and kill a fucking Hydra, and you get mythical quality stuff, and it's good. And that's actually PvP and PvE related. It isn't a lot of complicated. There isn't all these variations to balance, because we require us to be individually unique in a game of 5 million players. Every player must be individually unique according to us as players. That's what they think we think, right? They feel that's how we are. But there's something to be said for some of these other games that have some simplicity there, though I've always loved the complication of World of Warcraft. That's why I like it.
I've actually talked to you about this with the story. Mm-hmm.
You have?
Yeah, because with the way that they've been doing it with BFA is that they make us like a single person kind of campaign, because they want us to feel special.
And I do, and maybe it is as simple as a combination. Every time I talk, I'm killing his computer. His computer's like, fuck Bell.
Go back over here.
But let me just at least make it less awkward. Yeah, maybe the answer is that simple. Maybe that is how you fix the problem. Simplicity. I don't know.
Well, not a lot of games actually do a lot of separation, like Guild Wars 2, Star Wars: The Old Republic. All of it blends in together.
I agree with that. I think I like.
But they don't make items that completely unbalance, just based on one match. So I don't know.
That's kind of a neat concept. What if you had gear that, depending on the tier, right? You had your base item level, or base whatever, depending on each tier. And maybe your gear leveled up in an organic fashion with use. Maybe it had XP on the gear. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just throwing shit out there to see what sticks to the wall. But maybe. And that, if you do a lot of said content for whatever side of the world you're on, whether it's PvE or PvP, you get the base and you have the ability to make stuff a little bit better. And if you didn't, and you're the only one in Raid who didn't go do the things to make your gear better, then you only had yourself to blame. Maybe that's just another ridiculous system I'm throwing out there for conversation's sake.
Well, something that I've been brainstorming with the... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, so something like the cloak, right? Like, if you don't
that's
level up...
nice.
Yeah. Like, but also, like, people know that you haven't leveled up your cloak. They look and go, what the fuck have you been doing? Why is your cloak still rank 4?
Like, I like this element. I like that I like that I feel bad that I didn't do any visions but one this week so far. I like that I feel guilty because I have not been in there to do the visions to level my cloak. It has been a long time since I have felt guilty about not doing a thing. Not because
Am I pulling you throw those tonight, by the by?
Probably not tonight, but probably tomorrow before raid. I like that I feel bad. I don't feel obligated. Like, it's not so much of a big difference that if I don't have 12 going into tomorrow night's raid, I'm not going to be benched, right? But I feel bad that I don't have it at max.
So, when you mentioned that, I've actually been brainstorming because of the leveling changes for Shadowlands, where they're reverting everything back to 50 and then you go to 60. Eventually, it's like the same thing they're going to have to do with their stat squish soon. What they should be doing is very similar to what Azurite and the Necklace does. You level up in that expansion. You're still going to be that level, but like professions, you have the Legion, 1 to blank, BFA, 1 to blank. Why can't they do the same thing with levels? Because eventually we're gonna hit 120 again because WoW's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I agree with I think I understand. Should have muted. Sorry. I understand where Winstead's going because he's seeking to solve problems that it's clear that we're struggling for them to be able to solve. But I do agree. I personally don't think the solution is to remove said thing completely. I think the solution is to bring it back to good from when it was functional and people were less...
Yeah, like stat reforging.
Like, you know, I get we have to evolve as a game. I'm not saying don't try new things, Blizzard. I love new things. I'm at the top of the list of loving new things. However, when it's 1, 2, 3, are we going to go on a 4th expansion where an entire system of gameplay is largely shit on a daily basis by everyone?
I mean, when was it? Legion, they did the overhaul for Prestige, and they hyped it up, and it didn't, like...
Listen, Prestige from day 1 was a joke. It was a joke. We were just filling time.
Back on bottom.
Yeah, you're back. You're
a bada bitch, okay?
So it appears every time I start to monologue, your computer's like, fuck you.
Yeah, no, I'm having some internet problems.
Oh, is it internet? Ew.
Yeah, no, my internet for some reason keeps dying on me.
We're gonna wrap up and do our week in WoW, but what else do you want us to know before we wrap up, and what can we do to help you in this conversation? Oh my god, that is the best freeze face I have ever seen. Somebody clip that. Somebody clip it because that's the best. Oh my god, I really hope someone clipped it and that just stays forever. That is the best face. God help me, I'm going to hell. Oh wait, I have a thing where I could clip stuff.
It's in Discord.
Yes! He's gonna kill me. That is so friggin' good.
It's gonna be my new cover photo on Twitter.
That's so good. Rem, what did you do this week in WoW while we wait for this picture to disappear?
So the week in WoW was I low-key was like, hey, I'm not gonna worry about conflict and strife, it's not worth it. And then I'm like, why not? And so I capped out once, and then I capped out twice to help someone, and now I'm gonna cap out probably a 3rd time we're gonna help out Brew get his conflict and strife. So lots of PvP this week. And I haven't done a lot of mythics this week. It's mostly just been kind of playing catch up with the paladin as well. But I
feel like last night I heard you do like 50 mythics. I don't know if I am recalling the events incorrectly.
Well, compared to before, that was like 3 back to back. But yeah, no, I'm just glad that I'm enjoying the game again still to this. I mean, I'm putting a lot of time in, and I actually want to raid with everyone, mythic with everyone. I'm trying to drag you into fucking arenas.
You know what's annoying?
But
is you are back in love with the game, and because I have been so emotionally drained from trying to love World of Warcraft without my friends, now my friend is back, and I am just like, I need a fucking break from this because I am emotionally stunted. But I am working on it, actually, because most of it's just lazy. It isn't for any other reason. It's just pure GD laziness. Yeah, he's back. Yay.
For now. And then
well, I think,
yeah,
I think we're like, I'm working on trying to wrap up. So we were doing our week in WoW real quick. And then we'll end with you telling your thing. Brew, what did you do this week in WoW?
Killed Mazoth finally on normal difficulty. And I've done arenas like for the first time ever. And I've just been doing the keys as normal.
Keys? Winstead.
Lock & Key is a good show, by the way.
What I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of this math.
You got your calculator and your spreadsheets?
Yeah, I got my calculator and spreadsheets. I've been doing a lot of classic. I enjoy classic. I find, I think Classic had a good gearing system, and it's just not what we have currently.
How do you have time for Classic? You don't even have time for regular WoW.
Well, I play a tank in Classic, and so
you don't need time.
I jump into the game and I say, hey, looking for dungeon, and I immediately get to go play something. That's the trick.
I agree with Calandra.
Calandra, what'd you say about?
You two have met. I know you have met at BlizzCon before. So, Winstead, just for background, so Calandra, which is Angie, she might still. I know she ran GCD TV's Twitter and did all she's like heavy into the WoW esports stuff. So I know you have met in real life. Like,
very possible.
Angie's like tearing.
Yeah, no, she's complaining about, in Classic, there was no PvP. So, I mean, it was, you had your battlegrounds, and that was about it. But as far as, PvE stuff, I don't play Classic for PvP. I play Classic for PvE.
But PvP is how you're good at the game, though, Winstead.
Well, yeah, that's how you know if you're good. And so I just don't know if I'm any good at Classic. That's the problem.
But
what class do you play?
It's Classic,
your tank,
so
are you...
I'm
a warrior.
I'm the only warrior.
It's Classic. It's your own story. You can be whatever you want to be in Classic because there's no one watching.
Yep. No, and as far as the system that I'm developing, I kind of want it, and kind of leading back into what I was doing before I got cut off by the internet, is that if people are interested in this system, please tweet at me ideas to improve or problems that you see with it. My Twitter is Winstead84. So at Winstead84, and let me know what you guys think about what we've been talking about. Is it good? What are things that I'm missing? Because again, when we talk about, I'm only one brain. Yeah, I'm missing a lot of gear, and it's just so annoying. But yeah, no, I think this is something that would work. I think this is something that would fix a lot of the problems that we've seen over the past couple expansions of gear
bleeding over.
Too much bleeding over. In Legion, there wasn't enough customization for our characters. It just wasn't there. You couldn't manipulate your character in any way, in any meaningful way. In BFA, we've got so much gear dependency that it really hurts new players trying to get into PvP.
Maybe I don't want new players in PvP.
Yeah, I don't remember what expansion it was, but it was impossible to do BGs on an alt because you just got stomped the whole match.
That's what I don't know. Maybe I'm weird that way.
Okay, so there should be a power difference. You should feel strong by doing a lot of PvP, but
it shouldn't be something that is not overcomable by skill. And that you can attain by playing.
Right, and it made me want to do it, right? I'm oh, fuck that guy who literally teabagged me an entire battleground. I'm going to get really super good, and then I'm going to teabag him, his mother, and his mother's cat, because that's how I do. So I agree. I think it should be painful at first, but I think that that will separate you from the herd. Either you are a go-getter and you're going to get better, or you decided you are not a go-getter and you're going to go fuck off and not PvP's direction. Right, in a direction that isn't mine, with your not knowing what the ESC
And now I'm not
is.
saying that you shouldn't get random PvE gear rewards from PvP. Hey, whatever helps you be able to balance out if you want to go start doing dungeons or raids or anything like that. Gear just good enough to get you there. Get you started, but definitely not.
Well, yeah, at least for questing and
so
tweeted
him. Continue the conversation with him if you have input or loves, hates, likes, dislikes. When people are giving ideas and then when they're thinking of a thing, we're in our own bubble. We are in our own bubble, and sometimes we don't have the ability to see all the pieces and parts. So have a conversation with them. Make sure you follow him. Make sure you follow Garrasar. Make sure you follow everyone really at Technically PvP and give them some love, because he's in the weeds and doing things that no one else really wanted to deal with.
Definitely want to give a shout out to the Warcraft radio crew. It's been fantastic. Come catch us every other Tuesday. I believe next Tuesday will be
What
a show?
FM station do I go for that?
I'm pretty sure Warcraft
station.
Radio does not listen to Pwnecast. We are definitely not their level. We are in the we're the dumpster fires. We are not.
But there are a ton of great shows on Warcraft Radio to fill everybody's taste, just not the more adult flavors.
Yeah, you're
So
not.
if you want
So
that,
no,
you
so
gotta
no
come
Howard
here
Stern level
to
Warcraft Radio.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
come to
never.
Pwnecast if you're looking for that.
You want to go. You want to go slumming, and you want to know what life is like trying to choose between macaroni and cheese with no cheese and a ketchup sandwich. Pwnecast is where you need to be following, like, and subscribing because we got the haps on that one. Thank you for being here. I
No
do
problem.
have a
It's a
story, but we'll tell that story next time. It's a good one, and it'll be a good one next episode. Probably gonna see Shadowlands Alpha eventually. It feels like it's on the horizon.
I'm
Dear
surprised
Lord, I wanted
it's the
to hit.
weekend and it's not here because there's 2 builds. There's actually servers up, so I mean we'll see.
I did some fact checking, and BFA, the initial alpha, which was in beta very soon after that, but alpha to them is just friends and family, right?
Yeah.
That was the end of February when that was released. So I
I'm
guess
gonna be really heavy into this BFA because I want to try and fix the PvP as much as possible.
for
Well, yeah, that's why
Getting all
I'm.
my math figured out now, so when I go into BFA, I can just take that math, input it to the equations I've already figured out, and go from there.
that makes sense.
But I want to fix PvP because it's such a dynamic part of the game. It's what really keeps me interested in the game, that playing with my friends, and it's just not in a good place right now. But
I agree. I feel like I had the same conversation at the end of Legion, and I feel really sad.
I loved Legion.
No, I love Legion for all
Oh
the
my
things.
God.
I didn't fancy it for
Amazing.
PvP. It was missing a lot for me. But I feel like I have this. I feel like since Warlords of Draenor, this PvP conversation where I just keep living on a hope and a prayer and faith, and where it's good for 5 minutes, and I'm really excited about what's happening, and then I turn on War Mode, and I'm the only Alliance member in fucking War Mode because all the Alliance is a bunch of fucking chicken shit pansies on my server.
We
and
check out 2 episodes ago. We talked to people a part of the World PvP Alliance.
That's a thing.
what is that?
Yeah, no, there is some World PvP groups that are out there, and I think it was 2 shows ago we had one of the guys who plays the Horde side, but he knows people on the Alliance side, and we talked all about World PvP, and there's World PvP Discords and World PvP groups that are constantly trying to, raid your Horde or Alliance
Do
cities.
you have
depending on
said
the faction.
Discord?
I do, and I can get it to you. I just have my internet is so unstable right now. I don't necessarily want to open up anything.
You're
more than I
good.
have to.
When he gets me that, I will share it on the next episode. I'll also tweet it. But this is nice. I am
Is it-
happy to hear that.
Is this like the dudes that were like made the groups for Ashran, but for like World PvP level stuff like CTA and all that? Call to Arms.
some.
Sorry.
Some of them, yeah.
Well, not the same people, but the same concept. Where
It's not-
you're
Yeah,
doing,
same
like,
concept.
We're not dealing
Call
with
to
Hydra and
Arms.
the Avengers.
Yeah, no, the idea where it's just
Yeah.
you're doing Call to Arms, you're doing like
Even
for the
if
Alliance
it's
or for the Horde. Just
even if it's just
Yep.
world quests in a zone, like maybe there's groups where they're all logging in to do world quests.
I see them in there. I just know that there was like an official group that looked like there was because
That's
there's
amazing.
CTA.
Yep, there are some
Yeah, there's
communities.
CTA
on
Vale
Blizzard.
1, 2, 3. Like there's a bunch.
So
of
you're
stuff
saying
there,
they'll
so.
solve my problem of all the chicken shit pansies on my server that are Alliance not in war mode, forcing me
Yes.
to not be in war mode because I don't want to be
Yes.
the only man not in
Yes,
war mode.
I've played a little bit with the groups. They are fun.
Oh.
They what was the one? There's one group that was very heavy into the oh gosh, what's that underwater realm? It's been so long since I've been down there.
Last year?
Not Vashir, but the one that we
Nazjatar.
recently went to, Nazjatar. There's a group that goes in there and just
Well, that's not really
dominates
underwater
Nazjatar.
anymore, though.
Well,
That's
but
true.
it was though. So
Yeah.
my husband said it's funny
But-
you said that because my husband described it the same way. What's that underwater place? And I said the same
But,
thing. Bashir.
There's a they go in there and rampage it every time it goes live. They'll have a guy who just pops out invitations, create 2 or 3 raid groups, and then just dominate inside there.
I'm missing out. I make sure. Don't forget to give that to me because I super need that.
Well, as
and
soon
I will
as
share
we-
that to everyone.
I can get you guys that information.
Guys, we had a great show today. Sans poor Winstead's hamsters that he probably hasn't fed in a week, and that's probably why his internet's dying. We will have Winstead on, I'm sure, especially once we start getting into the Shadowland stuff. Like,
yes,
that just is what it is. Guys, we had a great show, and even though we argue and fight, we all still love each other.
My name is Winstead, and yeah, I had a good time.
I didn't even bother moving your guys' shit around. I just left it as it is. We will be back, not this week, but we will be back the following week. We are bi-weekly. Don't worry, once Shadowlands, once we start having way too much content to be able to cover in just bi-weekly, we will be going back to weekly. Thank you for all the likes, follows, subs, patrons, even the people that are shitheads on Twitter. Thank you. And I think, does anybody have an update on Tal and Ev? Is there a baby? Because
I know that she's pregnant, but I didn't know that there was labor.
Well, it was alluded to on Twitter where they didn't have a weekly reset because of a totally not unexpected event, and I assume labor was happening. Maybe. Well, I'm excited for that because babies. Anyway, guys, we're going to get the hell on out of here, and as we're getting out of here, I'm going to leave the credits rolling, and we're just going to continue to talk about...
Let me risk the Discord channels.
Well, and I'm going to let me roll the outro. I just got to say, though, your hair is lovely. It looks very Superman meets Fonzie.
Yeah, I have this wonderful little cowl.
Hey.
This awesome Superman curl right there.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it looks good.
I think it's a great Superman curl.
The first time I saw you log into Zoom, because I mostly when I was listening to the show, I just listened in my car, so I didn't actually watch. So I had no idea what you looked like going into this, and I was just like, "Damn, I wish I could be as attractive as Winstead."
You know, he's been, well, he was dressed as a demon hunter, as was the wife. I posted pictures on my Twitter.
Really?
That year at BlizzCon, they were both
we cosplayed the hell out of
scandally
that.
clad. Two good-looking individuals. His wife is smoking hot, and I'm like, let's just make a Bell sandwich because that's what dreams are made of.
Bow chicka bow wow.
It was quite lovely.
Okay, let's see if I can get these groups.
That's exciting to hear about that. That is a big frustration because I recently have had to turn off war mode because I'm the only one in it. And I can't get anything done because I'm the only one in it. So that's very exciting.
Okay, so there's this unsanctioned RBGs that
I like
does some
unsanctioned.
World PvP.
We got a screen grab of your wonderful face when it froze at the superbly right time. Like,
I was looking a little drunk, apparently.
so good. If I could just harness that and live in it, it would be
Let's see if I can.
creepy, I'm
I
sure.
don't know if I have the ability to share and invite people to these things. But this is the...
We should be friends on Discord, on the Discords.
I don't know if we are on Discord, to be honest with you. Let's pull up Discord. Let's find these.
I'm about to start trimming down my Discords. I'm in a lot of servers, and unfortunately being in so many servers has made it really difficult for me to function on any kind of a normal level. Like, legitimately, I can't function on any normal level. So it is something that I need to get better at, because...
I started grouping mine. I trimmed down what servers I was in, and then I just started grouping them into folders.
So the problem that I have is, like, I have it all well and grouped and all that, but I can't seem to get any of the freaking... I can't seem to get the notifications just right. Even when I server mute, I still get the badges, so I just turn all the badges off, but then I miss important stuff. I don't know, one of these days I'm going to get my act together. But I just figured I'll just start deleting servers I don't care about.
I'm gonna go fix my lights.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm about to end. Guys, we're getting the hell on out of here. Because reasons.